on the live, I say live, but on the reunion. So we want to be able to have good conversations today, and we want to be able to, uh, have a good time, So we're gonna keep the show around about 2.5 hours, guys. Okay, I'm trying to be more strict with my time because I need to be better with timekeeping. I'm learning to be better with my timekeeping. Okay, so listen. If you're new to the channel, do me a massive favor. Like it, share, subscribe, click on that bell button. Okay. Click on the black bell button for notification of the uploads as well. Okay. Listen, we want you guys to be with us when we do lives, when we do uploads, when we have community posts, all that kind of shebang. We want you to be up and ready and notified as well. So without much further ado, you already know what it is, baby. You got the minerals, and we're going to get into this conversation. So, reunion was a crazy one at that, and it was very, very interesting. So, we want to be able to chop it up quickly as well. So, I got my man JR behind the scenes. I'll get him on just quickly to have a quick conversation before I get the rest of the people and the folks on. Brother, what are you telling me, Captain?
Yo, good evening, Coach. What's up, everybody? Yeah, man. I think the first part of the reunion spoiled us a little bit, but they got like most of the drama out the way early. But this one had its fair share too. Got a little bit of depth to some of the triangles that we saw. And man, there was definitely a lot of tussling on this one too. So I thought this one was very interesting nonetheless, but not as good as the first part.
I hear that. Absolutely. In terms of the quality of that. What would you say was the most, what was the best part of the reunion anyway? What was the best part of the show for you in the last part two?
Well, for me, the best part is actually seeing that some of the couples, are still together, even if it is loosely. They haven't put a title on it. So like Mercedes and Mark Anthony, they're obviously continuing to hang out. And, I thought they would choose each other, but obviously I understand the reasons why Mercedes didn't choose Mark Anthony, logistics. Blake and Suan, everybody said their relationship was boring, was fake. It wasn't going to work. We all know how Blake was done by some of the classmates, casting shade on him from pretty much the start all the way through. He was at the bottom every single elimination, pretty much. And who else? Oh, and we also got to see the status of Anthony and Cynthia, and they were a couple I thought would work as well, but obviously we'll get into that a bit more too. So those were the best parts for me, because I want to see couples actually be ready to love, or if and love looks different to many people. So I commend the couples that did still stay true to their choices even after the show the cameras stopped rolling.
Yeah, man. And listen, let's start off strong, because you know what? I said I'm going to do 2.5 hours. I'm not going to waste time. So let's get into the first conversation, right? I want to talk about Mark Anthony and Mercedes, because I'm going to say it again. They smashing. They ain't nothing to do with a relationship right now. Well, and I said it. I called it out, and look, the show was slightly calling it out as well in terms of their relationship. She did this whole "I'm choosing me." It's all bullcrap. And I don't mean that in the worst way. I don't mean that in a mean way about Mercedes. It's not about she being a bad person or a bad choice. The reality is that also, and I want to take this into account. We live in a society where double standards exist, right? So, for instance, if I'm a man and I say I'm going to choose me, but I'm still smashing, nobody questions me, right? If you're a woman and you decide that, you know what, I'm going to choose smashing, people are going to judge. Both men and women are going to judge the situation. When the reality is, this is what people really do choose. As I said, I don't want to be condemning Mercedes because of this choice. You know what I mean? I just knew that it weren't what it was. This whole I'm choosing me because of distance for me was trash. It's like, no, y'all gonna sneaky link when he comes back from wherever he comes from. If you go and visit him in New York or he comes to where you are, it's going to be a sneaky link and y'all are going to enjoy it. And I'm not mad at it. You know what I mean? Some people have those kind of relationships. You know what I mean? So I'm not gonna be vexed at it. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I wasn't completely surprised that they're still linking, to be honest. And when she said that she chose herself, um, and gave the reasons, it made me think after seeing bits of this reunion. I was like, okay, so supposing Mark Anthony was going to stay in Florida, supposing that never came up, would she have still chosen herself? Because being an air stewardess, she probably works 3 or 4 days straight and then has the rest of the week off to recuperate. So she's still going to be traveling. She's not going to be there a lot. And that's not going to be a stable relationship in terms of logistics, right? She's always going to be gone for most parts of the week. So for him, how is he going to form a relationship with her? And we also heard that his previous relationship was with an air stewardess. So, he's probably used to the type of scheduling that she would be bringing. So, like I just got to respect the fact that at least she was honest and said she wasn't gonna do it. Did it make complete sense? No, for the reasons I just mentioned. Mark Anthony's already dated someone in that profession, so he obviously can handle it to a certain degree. And like if he is going to New York or whatever, then I'm sure she might have times where she's over in New York for work. She's traveling a lot. So but in terms of the chemistry, it's been there from the start. It wasn't a toxic relationship between both of them. There wasn't the back and forths or the chipping away at people that we've seen with some of the other couples. And even when they were at the bridge and she chose herself, he didn't seem like it was going to be the end. Like he wasn't, heartbroken or destroyed about it. And they hugged, they embraced, and they seemed pretty booed up on the couch. So you're right. They probably are still linking. In fact, I know they are still linking. But they just didn't want to put a name on what they're doing. That's what I got from it. They didn't want to give it an official title like they're going together.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely hear that because they were mad cozy on the couch, man. On the reunion, they were mad cozy on the couch, mad cozy behind the scenes. He was all lying up all over on her. You know what I mean? Talking about talking as they do. And then so for me, I think it was one of those weird things. I was like, this is one of those. It felt like one of those moments where it's a female empowerment moment, and it's like there's nothing to be empowered here. You choosing yourself. It's nothing empowering here. You know what I mean? And again, once more, like people do this all the time. Like Morgan did the exact same thing. It's like you choosing you is for TV. Ain't got nothing to do with what you're actually really feeling because y'all go be going back. You know what I mean? Y'all be dating a person straight after to see if it's gonna work. So my thing was, it's less. I just wished it's like I was not celebrating when it happened. I think that's the point. That I was not celebrating at that point because it felt. And my thing was this, right? Here is why I felt like it was even more awkward. The conversation that Mark Anthony has on the reunion is what made it even more weird. Because when they asked him what Wagwan, what's up with the thing, he couldn't even really properly explain it. And the way he did explain it made it sound like they're just smashing. So he can't even put it properly. So it's like, you know what I mean? So this is why it just looks even worse. Rather, it should have been like, look, hey, y'all could have said yes. She could have said yes at the end of the show. And now on reunion, we're like, look, you know what? We've decided to come to a place where we're just gonna be cool. And you could have still been smashing and would have never known. But now it's like done female empowerment and then gone behind the scenes. And now we're like coming on to reunion. And it's like, so what's happened to you guys? Well, we're still kind of seeing where we are, and and he made it, and he definitely didn't describe it very well because it made it sound like they were smashing. Like there's no like, oh, we're seeing where we're going or we're working it out. No, it sounds like we smashing. which is why I said that some of those comments that were made in the house where he said, "You look like my future ex-girlfriend," there's nothing serious about Mercedes trying to go in that situation with Mark Anthony, because the reality is she was going to take whatever she can get. He's a handsome man. Let me take some time. I'm going to enjoy him for a year or so. I might smash a little. And I'm not even mad. Again, we're not mad at it, because the reality is sometimes you just want to have fun. Girls just want to have fun, and nobody's mad at it, because we have all been in that place before. So I just wanted to call a spade a spade. I just didn't want to be pretending as if it was a female moment where it's like, where it's like, at the end of the day, I choose me. You don't choose you. You choose, you know what I mean? You don't choose you. That's the reality. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, no, I get that, because, I can see where the confusion comes. You chose yourself, but then you still go and link the brother afterwards, right? So you could have just chosen yourself. You could have just chosen Mark Anthony in that situation. And that's what you essentially were there to do. Like, you built a connection with someone, you made it all the way to the end. You could have easily said yes and then tried to figure out if it's going to work. They've obviously they've obviously made it work to some extent, because if you look at the socials, they posted up quite regularly together. Like, and she definitely compliments him about being her man crush, and thank you for being the guy that I met and all this other stuff. So it's definitely something going on. And I'm not mad either at them still linking, or if they are smashing or dating or whatever they're doing, because at least they're doing it with each other. They're not running around doing it, spreading their love to other classmates. Right? They largely kept themselves to themselves. Even though Mark Anthony had a connection with Jeffrey, from what we know, it didn't go too far. And they're not talking as of the reunion, they hadn't spoken at all. And he was cool with that. So, at least they managed to keep each other watered in that department. I think Mercedes, she came across as a very bubbly person. So I can see why Mark Anthony would choose her over some of the more controversial characters that he had potential to date. So yeah, I'm not mad at it either. The connection is obviously strong enough to last after the show, which is longer than some of the others have. So yeah, hope it goes well for them.
Definitely hear that, bro. Definitely hear that. Jay was saying, that is not what I was saying, Jay. That's not what I've been saying. Yeah, that's not what I was saying. All right, let's. All right, let me. But yeah. So that I definitely see that part as well. How did you feel about Mark Anthony? Being accused of always supporting the men on this episode as well, because that was a lot that was said there too about Mark Anthony, that he's supporting all the men.
Yeah. Now that was Jeffrey's comment, and she was, I guess, sick and tired of Mark Anthony saying what he was saying. But I think we also have to take into context that outside of the show, I think Tony, Mark Anthony, and Andre are very cool with each other, and Anthony as well. They're very cool with each other outside of the show. They're boys. Mark Anthony and Tony are from New York, so they probably have a tighter friendship. But he was just jumping in where he felt he could, just like we saw some of the other castmates. We saw Marcia making comments when she felt she wanted to say something backstage when she wasn't on the camera, like she was in the group chiming away. We saw Z doing quite a bit of it. So when they're watching someone take criticism or be under attack and they felt it was unjust, they're saying, "Bro, what's up with that?" But Jeffrey made that comment, and she didn't even get any support when she made it either. So that was just her opinion. But so I wasn't mad at that at all. So yeah, I think we can't read too much into that. That's a narrative that sometimes people will throw out there when a man sticks up for another man anyway. It's like you're supposed to just leave the guy to just defend himself and put his foot in his mouth, and you're not supposed to do anything. So Mark Anthony is definitely riding for Tony a lot.
That's fair. That's fair as well. I get that. And I don't know if you noticed. I don't know if anyone else noticed, right? And it's just something I picked up on with Mark Anthony and Mercedes, right? There was a comment that he made, and it's very similar to when they were doing a candle situation, right? And it's why I feel like there's part of that Mark Anthony, as much as he likes Mercedes, part of me thinks like there's a, I don't know, when you're happy to smash but you don't like the girl. I'm just being deep today. Today I just want to free the realness for the game to people. I don't want to put on no bandages for some people, okay? I want to keep it all the way real, okay? All right. But Mark Anthony is giving me the energy that I like to smash, but I don't like your energy around me too much, right? And I'll tell you why. Okay, I hope. Yes, someone just said it. That comment, he said, "Gas me up." When he said that, he said the exact same thing with the candle situation. The exact same one. He said it on the couch. Exact same comment, like when she was going to speak about him. And I'm confused because I've never heard Mercedes ever say anything bad about Mark Anthony. So why does he feel that she's going to say something negative about him ever? Do you know what I'm saying to you? So on two occasions when she's having to speak in front of her cohorts, why does he always have to preface it with say something nice or gas me up, and it just for me is giving I don't really like you. It's giving it's giving I don't really like you that much. You know what I'm saying? Like when I say don't like you that much, what I mean by that is I like you enough to smash, but not enough to spend my whole entire time with you. Like when you can, and I don't mean that again, it sounds so crude, but I'm just talking about the realities of life, right? As men, we know, right, when we're there's certain women we can smash and we can be around. We can go out, we can chill, we'll catch drinks, we'll talk, we'll vibe with you. And there's some others where you smash and you're like, you know what? I can do about an hour. After that, I got things to do. You know what I mean? And it's not an indictment on the other person. It is not saying the other person is bad. It's saying that you just don't have that kind of energy. But maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe he likes spending time with her. And maybe there's a deeper rooted issue as to, a deeper issue, aspect. Now, I know people are trying to explain to me what I know what gas me up means.
I think my boy Kojo's froze. What's happened? Hey, don't worry, he'll be back in a second. Just a technical difficulty on his end, I think. He'll be back. But in the meantime, yeah, I can understand where oh, here we go. Okay, he's trying something. Yeah.
Continue, bro. Continue.
Yeah, I can understand where you're coming from with that, to a degree, because I think it is weird him saying that continually. Like he said it, yeah, maybe 2 or 3 times throughout the whole season. He said that specifically to her when she's about to start speaking. I'm not sure if that's a fear that some of the things, some of the behaviors he's seen from the other classmates, he thinks might rub off on her. Because when you listen to how some of the classmates have described the person that they chose or the person that they've had the connections with, they call them monsters. They've called them, they've gone in on them. We've heard multiple times Tony and Blake be referred to as I want to say derogatory things by the people that they actually had the supposed connections with at one point. So that could be a tactic of Mark Anthony to make sure that whatever she says is going to be positive and edify him. So he's kind of preempting it. I didn't see any behaviors from him that would make me feel like he's got a darker side to him. So, or, he said anything mad to her. to make her come out and just say something like, "Oh man, Mark Anthony's terrible. He's a player. He's this, that." I don't think I've seen anything from him personally. So I just think it's a way of him getting kind of like what Andre likes, which is people to, talk him up, big him up. And Andre kind of likes that in the, he's a spiritual man. He's he's so perfect. He's the biblical husband. He likes that type of edification. And I think Mark Anthony was kind of asking for a version of that from Mercedes before she gives her take on their situation.
Yeah, so I'll try and hold on. Things come back now, so I can get off this. Hold on. Ooh. Hold on, guys. Apologies, sorry about that. All right, sorry about that, guys. My phone when I was linking to the thing. Apologies again. Yeah. So listen. So yeah. Maybe I use the wrong words then. So maybe maybe you're right. The wrong words I use in terms of him not necessarily liking her. Um, I don't know how to best explain this. He don't like her enough. That's what I need to say. Maybe I need to say it that way. He don't like her enough for me personally, right? Hey Faye. He don't like her enough. And I think for me, it's like you wouldn't have to fear or even have to want yourself bigged up like that if you're aware of what this person likes about you. Do you know what I mean? Because you know that Mercedes likes you. You know that Mercedes is feeling for you. You know Mercedes wants you that way. So when I saw that comment, I was like, I get it. He wants to be bigged up. But I don't know, there's something odd for me. Um it's not odd for me because it's not the first time he's asked for that. Like I said, the candle situation too happened, and I was like, nah, there's something. And I'm trying to unearth my thoughts to give the game of what I'm trying to say and how I'm seeing him behave with her. But that situation with in fact, let me even show you the clip that I was even going to bring up. He looks visibly frustrated when he's sitting with her, visibly frustrated, which is why I said that part of him. I'm telling you, it feels like what. It, look, people be thinking I think too deeply. When you've rolled with goons for long enough, you know the attitude that they have towards women. It's not even women, towards certain girl that you chill with. It's not that you despise her. It's the fact that some people are just not great company for you. You want to hit and you want her to do whatever you want her to do for you, but you don't necessarily want to return the favor. I'm just saying, you get it when it's on, and this is what I mean by this. When it's on your terms, it works. When it's not on your terms, yeah, get me. But whilst I'm getting a clip for you guys, Faye, go jump in. I know they're going to tell me I'm reaching. Hey, if they told me I was reaching with the Blake too, so
I do think you're reaching a little bit. I think the gas comment is like cute. It's like, say something nice about me, like in a flirty way. Like Mark Anthony kind of has that vibe to him. I think it's mutual for them though, like the interest and the same type of vibe. I think she knows he's not serious and she's cool with that. And she's not ready to be serious with him either, just because they're at different stages in life. He's still trying to get the pilot license. She's like, already kind of into her career, but has more aspirations. So I think it works for them. I don't think she's tripping like at all. I think that was kind of her way of doing it was, saying she chose herself was to say, hey, like, I know this is not like a serious, like, I don't want to make the fans or anyone else think that I'm trying to make this a serious thing right now. I do like him, but it's not anything serious. And that's why they continue to kind of have whatever they have going on after. So I think it's cute. I just like them together.
go for it, JR, and then I'll bring the clip up. Go for it.
Yeah, I agree. I like them together too. You know, we've seen other couples, and I'm sure we're going to talk about them, that didn't make it that far, and their relationships were very turbulent. So I'm happy that these two, you know, they had a steady ride through the show pretty much. Obviously, they had other connections, otherwise they wouldn't have probably made it as long. But they had other connections, and when the time was right, it got whittled down to just them two. And like I say, it didn't. You know, I thought they would choose each other, but I respect Mercedes' decision, and it seems like Mark Anthony was cool with it. So that's what I'm saying. He wasn't that invested for it to be a heartbreaking or tough thing for him to deal with when she rejected him. And that's probably one of the reasons why they're still linking now. Because if he was feeling some kind of way or feeling any type of hurt from it, then, you know, he probably would have blown up at some point about it. And she would have been put off by that, you know. So the way he handled the no on decision day, and the fact that they're both still into each other as much as they are, I don't think it's going to be I love yous and let's get married and have babies or anything like that. I don't think that's going to be anytime soon, but it doesn't have to be. As long as they're moving at the speed that they're both happy with, I'm not going to be mad at it at all. You know, the logistics are important in their relationship. So until they get that sorted out, and then there's more stability or more consistency of being able to see each other, wake up next to each other, do the things that, you know, date normally and stuff. Until they can work that out, then they're probably going to be cool to kick it because the chemistry is there at a level where there's no harm in doing it.
Yeah, no, I definitely hear you on that as well. So, I mean, again, once more, I don't think there's anything wrong with doing what they're doing. They should enjoy themselves. You know what I'm saying? As long as everybody knows what position they're in, okay. As long as everyone knows what position they're in, that's cool. As long as everybody knows where they stand, that's cool. As long as everybody believes that they're good, they are in control of their feelings, that's good. Okay, so if Mercedes has no stake in this situation, I'm gonna say it again, which I said a few weeks ago. If Mercedes has no real stake in this situation, then go for it. But if you know you got a bigger stake in this, meaning your heart is in this bigger than you actually is, I'm gonna say there's gonna be some issues down the line because you're gonna catch some feelings and you're gonna feel some type of way. So as long as she's cool, as long as she likes the you know she's able to control her emotions and control her stakes in the situation, hey, albeit go for it. Okay, so and I know some people are saying that it's the New York way for um Mark Anthony to behave. And I said, okay, if cool, if that's a culture, then maybe there's a cultural aspect in it, and I have to take that into account. I just think he never looks happy when he's around her. Whenever I see him on the couch, not around her ever, I'm talking about the fact that twice when I've seen him when she's about to start speaking, he doesn't look happy. It's like I don't know what maybe it's a New York way again. Maybe it's a New York way. You have to stay real cool and chill, and you know you can't show too much energy. So I'll take that into account. But he did not look happy, and I'm taking into account there's more than one occasion. So I'm not just talking about this occasion on the thing. I'm talking also as well. That candle situation was the exact same thing. Like when she was about to start talking, his facial expression was like, and I was looking at him like, bro, are you vexed at her, or like is she meant to say something that you meant to say? Look, no, I don't know. You know what I mean? So something about it, a something about it's feeling a bit weird. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, it may just be me. You know what I mean? I'll put the clip. It's innocuous, but I'm adding it to the fact that I saw the part with the candle situation last time around. Hopefully my internet don't kick me out again because my internet be moving very wild.
Action with Mercedes got stronger. As much as I like Jeffrey, Mercedes is a fantastic woman also.
Well, through this process, it's been difficult.
Boy, I don't need this part, boy. They are way behind where I wanted to be. Hold on, let me try and get this a little bit further along. Because it's around about 33.50. Okay, here. Like I said, I may be looking too deep into it. because I'm comparing two scenes. I know he had a little chuckle, but he always returns back to that. He's almost like he's too cool. And it may be me. It may be me. I said it may be me. I've thrown my hands up to say it could be me. But I'm telling you, I saw the same. It's the same energy that I saw with the candle situation. That's why I'm just saying from a player code, I've seen that energy before. And it usually isn't one, it's not placed in a place where it's like, I'm not going to say genuinely like you. I want to be very careful of the words I'm saying. The consideration in terms of levels of how much I like you to how much you like me are not on the same level. And that's the thing I think that's the energy I'm reading. And maybe I'm reading too much into it. Maybe I'm going to say that. I can always hold that open in space. I'm going to tell you again, though. I think I'm going to say it again. If it comes out and it plays the way it plays, I don't want no one to come shooting me, but I'm going to say it again. The energy he has for her, that she has for him, they're not the same. Just going to say. But it could be just cultural thing. I may read it differently. What would you guys tell me?
I disagree.
Tell me why you disagree. Come on now.
I think he looked really happy there. I think, when somebody's like talking about you and like, gonna give you praises and talk about the connection and all that, you kind of just have a resting face, whatever you return to, whatever that resting face is, or you might just look a little embarrassed, because they're gassing you up, whatever. So I think that's what he was looking like then. But they look happy. The body language was good. I think it's mutual in that they both know they're just having fun. Like it's like boo thing. Like both of them are kind of, boo thing. I don't think Mercedes, I think she has a good head on her shoulder. She seems like someone that is like pretty practical. Like she seems like, yeah, I like him. He's fine. But like if we're talking relationship, and stability, like he's not there yet. And I think she knows that. But it's okay for right now. Now, if she does get a little too involved and lose sight of that initial assessment, then she might run into problems. But she seems pretty level-headed. She's proven to be pretty level-headed to me. Hey, Jay.
Go for it, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, I looked very hard at those clips, Coach, and I didn't see a grumpy guy, to be fair. I think Mark Anthony is like his personality comes across as quite cool, laid back. I think we also have to take into context the fact that they both said that their connection is organic, so it's effortless. He doesn't need to be elaborate and be overly smiley or happy. He already knows he's found his person on the show, like the person that he connected with. He's happy. He doesn't have to worry about any of the other guys with Mercedes. Like he's quite relaxed and confident that that's who he's gonna chill with for the next foreseeable future, right? So I didn't get that, but I would also say that Mercedes comes across as quite a bubbly, friendly person. So when Mark Anthony's personality and her personality are next to each other, she's obviously going to be a bubbly self, and that might lead to you thinking, okay, yeah, well, he's not really into it because he's not matching her energy. But his energy is different. He's just a calm, composed, relaxed energy. He clearly articulated he had two options, and he seems very comfortable knowing that even though they didn't ride off into the sunset together, but they're still together. And he doesn't seem mad at it at all. I didn't see the angry face. Maybe it was the editing, Coach. Maybe it was the editing.
No. That's a fair point. I'll take that into consideration. Jay, talk to me.
Listen, Co, I ain't gonna say that your perspective is right or wrong or you're reaching. I'll just say that's your POV. Your thought process be deeper a little bit sometimes, so it is what it is. But I do say I agree with you on the fact he doesn't look happy, like we're buddy, because for that one fact that I think he's like a baby Tony. He wants things his way. He wants the relationship his way. And even if he is just smashing, he wants them to know that they're just smashing, because he didn't have to make that last comment at the end. You know what I'm saying? He didn't have to do, oh, just look at her. She's not just somebody I could just sit by and be friends with or whatever. He wants us to know. And he's just mad that it didn't get there because she's keeping it kind of cool. She's playing like, I'm just in it for to smash my damn self. So what I'm going to sit here and have an attitude with you about anything. We understood each other. It was mutual. I didn't choose you at the bridge because I don't want a relationship. Relationships and having relations are two different things. So we both got what we wanted out of this. Don't be salty because you wanted a little bit more and I don't. And, you know, it's probably like, what's the purpose? We watch Mercedes kind of move pretty genuine and honestly through this whole process. So I don't really see her playing up this thing to be like, oh, is this woman empowerment? I think that was her real intentions. Like, I just like where we at. You're not going to give me what I really need out of a relationship, but I will still, in the meantime, while I'm waiting for my relationship, entertain you. We two grown people. So I just kind of think that's where they're at in their stage, or was, I don't know. But rumor has it he kind of had a girl at this time by the time the reunion was taped back in New York. So maybe he's just looking like, I can't give you too much on this stage because a girl back home might be watching this. So
I did not know. Oh, okay. I did not know that. You know, and to be fair, listen, look, I think when I watched the second time watching you guys, I looked at it and I was like, it wasn't that deep. You know what I mean? I'll be honest. When I watched it the second time, like, it wasn't that deep. So I was asking myself the question, what did I see the first time round that I saw that way? And it's because the way I'm thinking about it is when I look at, because when I see a thing, I look for patterns. So this pattern, similar enough, is when I saw him with Jeffrey, his face, the way his face is usually is not the same way I see his face with Mercedes. So I think that sometimes I'm looking at patterns rather than sometimes taking a scene for what it is. I'm interpreting several things at once into one thing. So that's why I was like, when I watched it, I was like, actually, it wasn't that deep when I'm watching it a second time round, right? But then I'm taking into account also the comments. That comment that he makes about, you know, she's too pretty to be she's too pretty to be a friend. I interpret it as an energy. So I'm interpreting that also back into, I'm like, actually, this brother out here funking the funk. You know, I'm like, yo, he wants her to bigger up. Like, if I know people are saying it's a culture thing and it may be a New York thing, but I'm looking at him going, that the way he does it in a particular way, and again, it may be a cultural thing, you know, it tinges me that there's some player ways in there. Do you know what I mean? I don't know.
There's definitely player ways because that's why I said him and Tony is like the same. He like a little brother to Tony, if you really look at it, and they both from New York. So it probably is a cultural thing of how they act, but Tony is a bit more covert. But he be wanting the same thing out of Morgan. That's why his thing is more on that toxic energy, that let's fight each other energy thing. And Mark Anthony is praise me, because we've seen this kind of all show. It's women got to do for me, got to do this. He's been living in his pretty privileged energy, just like Morgan. So, you know, he's been getting away with his stuff on his end. And it's been low-key covert because he's like charming people when he does it. Oh, big me up, do this or whatever, make me feel good. And it's kind of like that frat boy energy. I got to show off for my boys. So if the girls is back there saying, when you going to stand up for a girl? He's definitely a guy's guy. He's going to ride for the boys. It's going to be bros over O's. But it's like, in this process, I'm usually the pretty one in my group. So look how I work. This is my attention. So him and Tony competing for, you know, pretty much all the girls on the damn show. He looking up to Tony and trying to be like him. It's like I want to be like you in a way or stuff. So let me just show you. Look, she on me still. This one still want me too. Look, because when he do it, he flex. He flips his shirt up. He think he living in a little bit of delusion. Like, you cute, but I ain't about to do all that for you.
I think you explained it probably better than I could, to be honest. I think you explained it better than I could. I'll try to get out. JR Faye, I know you guys may have a different opinion, which is good also as well. Like I said, I'm open to different opinions. You know, let me know what you guys are hearing, what you guys are seeing as well. You know, good to have a different case. Yes, JR.
Yeah, I think, you know, trying to compare Tony and Mark Anthony, I know they're from the same place, but no, I didn't see or hear about any entanglements that Mark Anthony was having. So I can't really do that.
Shout out to Queenie's Discord, because that's where it came out at. We was watching the live party together. So shout out to
Yeah, I didn't watch their Discord, but like I said, I didn't see, even on the set, I didn't see any of the other women coming at Mark Anthony for having entanglements or anything like that. None. He largely was unscathed. Even though some of them weren't feeling him, like Janique wasn't feeling him, some of the others weren't. He never got a bad rep from the show at all. So yeah, I mean, I get Jeffrey's comment about him always defending Tony when he's under fire or defending the boys and all that stuff. Listen, at the end of the day, if Mark Anthony had have chosen Jeffrey, he would have done what Andre did to Jeffrey. Yeah, none of those guys are going to be able to handle the specific energies that some of the women bring. And he ended up with Mercedes, which is probably the best fit for him. And she chose him, you know, she was cutting off her connections to focus solely on him. So I still think that if the cousin didn't mention that he was moving to New York, they probably would be in a different situation where she would have said yes. And then it probably would have come out later that he was moving to New York or back and forth. And then who knows what would have happened then. But, you know, I think, like I said, he's a very relaxed dude. And why wouldn't he be? He doesn't have to be on edge with any of these secret entanglements that Tony was having, for example, coming out and ruining whatever he has with Mercedes. They're both two grown people. They both have logistical challenges. And so, you know, they can't have this solid relationship that they probably both were looking for. They're grown enough to know that and still continue to see each other. There is no aggressor here, in my opinion. There is no victim here, in my opinion. And that's refreshing to see. It's just an organic couple that built on whatever chemistry they had initially, kissed a few times, maybe even done more than that. But they kept it between the two of them. And, you know, that's what I would expect mature adults to do, not be messy.
I do like that they kept it clean and didn't get too messy. I feel like Mark Anthony probably thought he would get a lot more play in this situation on Ready to Love than he ended up getting. So interestingly enough, I think they kind of ended up in the same boat in terms of connections. Because he had the connection with Jeffrey, but it wasn't really, you know, I don't know. I didn't read too much into it. And especially the fact that he's so much younger and well, I don't even know that he's that much younger than her, but she does have the 3 kids. And then for Mercedes, she had the connection with like Anthony and Andre, but it was very loose. Like none of them really had other real connections. So I think it worked out in that way for them. And it made sense. I don't know. I don't read too much into it, honestly. I think I do agree with some of the undertones, Jay, of what you were saying. I think some of it is kind of the New York swag and things like that. But I think his personality, to me, he seems like somebody that he's been fine all his life, but I don't know if he knew he was fine his whole life. You know, like he seemed like he maybe came into his fineness later on in life. That's what he just strikes me as. I don't know. And, you know, he's kind of learning how to maneuver still a little bit, you know, so he does kind of, I don't know, he gives young vibes, but he's like in his 30s, right? Like he's not that young, but he still gives off a younger vibe because I think he's still figuring some of that stuff out. But yeah, I think if it were up to Mercedes, I think she would choose to be with a more mature presenting man than Mark Anthony. But he's fun, you know, he's got the, you know, swag to him, you know, he's cute. So it's like, why not? You know, and maybe if he does get into his mature bag a little bit later, they could do something more serious. But I think it's just, you know, it is what it is for now. And I like that they're both grown enough to be okay with that and just move on. And at least she didn't get, you know, heartbroken at the altar, you know, at their little, you know, I don't know. It's like they pick each other and then they come back to the reunion and then somebody's all heartbroken and got ghosted. You know, it's like she didn't choose them. They're still cool. They're moving forward.
Oh, who wants to say Sanjay?
No, 'cause I was just thinking, I was like, if we think back to how Mercedes was with her ex, she carries herself a certain way. So she's not going to get on this platform and act the whole fool or whatever and be this, that, and whatever, because even the ex was respectful in their conversation with one another. So she kind of carries herself in a way like, listen, we both grown. We both doing what we doing. I've been honest with you and straight up. If you ain't been honest with me or with yourself, that is on you. But this is what it is. So when I get up on this stage, don't act no fool with me because I'm not going to be a Morgan with you. I'm going to sit right here and let you show up by yourself. And Mark Anthony is just too cool to just like step out of that, to be out of character. He's not going to pull a Tony for us in that regard. He's not going to do all the extras and all that. He's just going to be like, you know what? Because he at the end of the day, he's still a player in his head. So he's like, I need to be able to pull people and I don't need to seem like I'm unhinged. So I guess, like we say, it's two mature people just knowing who they are and what they got going on, and it is what it is. And so that's why we didn't get much drama out of these two amongst like other people on the cast.
Yeah, and again, I just want to reiterate, I'm not even saying Mark Anthony's bad. Okay, so don't think I'm saying Mark Anthony. I'm not even saying he's toxic. I'm not even saying that at all. I just think he's a sweet science when it comes to playing the game, and I think just coming from and again, maybe this is just me showing again my dark self, just kind of seeing things. I didn't see it all the way until the conversation with the sister, that the darkness of Mark Anthony came out. I was like, oh no, he's not just a sweet boy that plays a game. No, he lacks control. He really does. Because when they were asking him about how he wants it done, he said, listen, when I say it goes. I said, oh, no, he's darker than I thought. I thought he was a little bit light with a little bit of cream on top.
But Kojo, when you in the dark arts and you have there's certain levels that you play, and there's certain characters that play their level, and they have their strengths. Some people's strength is I control my situations. As long as I'm in control of my situations, I know how to maneuver my situations. Other people know how to play in the shadows. Other people. So it's like when you on a certain level of dark arts, you do have to kind of be in control of your players. Like I can't just have y'all running around doing whatever y'all want to do. So yeah, I agree with you. He definitely needs control.
And that's why I was like, okay. I see you, bro. Okay, you got that good game on you, sir. And I think that's why probably I was imprinting a lot of that into now, even more now, into the scene with them talking about Gas Me Up. So it didn't have as much innocence anymore, the Gas Me Up, when I was looking at it. But anyway, let's move on. It was a good conversation about Mark Anthony and oh wait, I know Sean. I don't know, Sean, did you want to say something? Because I know. You got to get your 2 pence in there. I don't know if he's alive in there. Go for it, Cap.
Yeah, you're doing a little bit too much talking about Mercedes, so I'm gonna have to come in and fill my cape on, but it's gonna be a light one. I just got my sheet right now. It's just a light sheet. So, absolutely. I think that. They definitely have a connection. So I'm not going to speak on what they're doing or what they're not doing. But what I will do is I'm going to let Mercedes speak for herself because, I told her, I don't want to be advocate Sean out here for you. I want you to speak for yourself. So just stay tuned.
That's what you told her, Sean?
Mercedes will be speaking for herself and be able to answer any questions or, clear up any rumors.
Sean is a PR now. It's PR Sean now.
Yo, that cape is around his neck so tight. I don't know what's going on. Circulation's been lost to his brain. So clearly we've lost Sean. He's passed on to another life. All right, cool. Let's talk about another person on the show. Let's talk about Cynthia and Anthony, because their situation just looked horrible. I can't lie to you. It looked horrible. Like now it may have been a dress. Apparently, I've been getting comments. It might have been a dress malfunction as to why she may have been seated that way. So I want to also be open that it may be that as well. that could have been a cause as to why she was seated the way she was seated at one point. But if you just take that aside, I mean, just finding out she's not emotionally available. I mean, I love me some Cynthia. I really do. You know, that voice, the raspiness, you know, she's beautiful. She's curvaceous, you know, everything that I would want, you know. But this is major cap. For her to drop the bar like, oh, I just realized I was emotionally unavailable. Darling, if you don't get the frick out of here and tell us the truth as to what's going on, was it? And you know, I don't even want to say it because my boy, I like Anthony too, and I talk to Anthony. You know what I mean? But we have to keep it real here. There are several options on the table right now. Okay, all right. One which I don't really want to say, but it's on the table. Okay, all right. Maybe the thing wasn't thanging. I have to be honest. That could be a thing. It could be. I have to keep it as an option. I'm not saying it actually is. I've got to explore all the options on the table. The thing might have not been thinging. Okay, that's number one. Number two, which I think is more plausible, is that I think she generally doesn't realize how much work it takes to be in a safer, you know, emotional environment. You know, and maybe that's why she wanted Andre more, because Andre had a little bit more of that. I would like to say edge, a bit more. He needed some growth as well, and it could have been a journey that both of them could have undertaken a little bit as well. Whereas with Anthony, it quote unquote seems like he's got his shit together, is well rounded, and doesn't take much of that mess. Even though he's not very loud about it, he doesn't take that mess. And I think maybe that might have been an environment that was very difficult as well. So. You know, that could have been a plausible reason why she said emotionally unavailable. And I think just finally, I just think in general, you know, you go through the course of the season, you know, you have your choice. And the reality is sometimes, sometimes you give yourself excuses as to self-sabotage and get out of a situation. Just like Andre was saying about the kids situation. Maybe this is her reasoning and her choice to also maybe potentially come out of the situation without it looking so bad, you know, as well. So, I mean, it could be a number of reasons, but I want to get you guys' thoughts as well. What you guys thought about Cynthia and Anthony's situation? What you guys think? Let me know your thoughts. Yes, go for it, Faye.
Sad, just sad. I really wanted to see them together and happy. You know, we watched this show so we could see a little, you know, entertainment, but I think a lot of us want to see some couples come out of this, some solid couples. I thought they could go well together. I also think maybe Cynthia had us fooled a little bit, or at least let me speak for myself, had me fooled a little bit. I didn't think her comments or her answers were contrived or anything like that. I thought it was genuine. But then thinking about it now, it's like, well, you know, maybe it was just to win, because you know you have two components to this show, like trying to make it to the end and then trying to actually find a valuable connection at the end. And you know, with some of her answers and things like that, was it just trying to get to the end of the show, or you know, was it really genuine? And then now we get to the end and it's like, does she really like Anthony the way she thought she did, or the way that she portrayed to us that she did? I don't know. I'm kind of questioning it right now. The body language, I know the wardrobe malfunction thing is on the table, but I just feel like it was just still so odd. You know, even for someone that you're, you know, I was emotionally unavailable, things didn't work out, I'm gonna work on it. It was just still so weird. It was just cringy. I was like waiting for a moment where she would, like, even when she was like, I'm gonna work on it, babe. Like I was like waiting for her to maybe like, you know, touch his shoulder or do something. And it was just still, I was like, oh, I don't know. She likes him. Yeah. I don't know. This is really disappointing. I think Anthony's been pretty much himself the whole time, so I don't have much to say on him. But Cynthia, I really like her. I still like her. I'm just not sure. I'm not sure if she really likes Anthony.
Yeah, I was a bit confused because having her back towards him kind of gave me the impression that something went down and they're no longer connecting or interested in each other. And there was a little gap, a little distance between them as well, when they were sitting on the couch. If it was a wardrobe malfunction and they were trying to protect her modesty, they could have had Anthony sitting on the other side where she's still facing him rather than having her back towards him. So I'm not sure if I completely believe that. And there's a whole wardrobe department there. So if she did have a wardrobe malfunction during one of the breaks, she could have changed into a different outfit. So I don't know if I believe that. I can only go by what she actually said, which was that she felt like she needed to take some time out and work on herself more before she could get back into a relationship type situation with him. I'm not mad at that because that might be exactly what she feels she needs. I'm not gonna second guess what she says and how she says she felt. And Anthony seemed cool with it. So I think there may have been an instance or something that took place in the relationship where she realized that she needed to check herself at a point and then check herself out in order to continue to build something with him if it's going to happen. Anthony has pretty much been the same way throughout. He didn't have a connection with Sue-Ann despite wanting one. He took it on the chin, moved on. He tried with Mercedes also. That didn't work. So I think Cynthia was the better match for him. I also have to say, and I don't mean to be rude or anything to anybody out there, so this is a caveat before I say it, but I'm not sure if Cynthia is used to dating the type of guy that Anthony is. I think based on what we saw with her ex, that relationship lasted about 12 years and produced 2 kids. So she's still fairly young to have a 12-year relationship, and now she must be fresh out of that into the dating scene. So I'm not sure how many opportunities she's had to date somebody who's got a top profession like that, a demanding profession like that, and pretty much set up and has a kid as well. So I'm only going by what I see. So I think there may have been a bit of realization like, okay, I need to level up a bit more so I can be the type of woman that he wants to, be with, go to galas with or dinner dates with. He can take her to different locations and stuff where she probably hasn't, been, based on the fact that he's quite a solid guy. He doesn't strike me as a hood guy or someone that's flashy with jewels or a hothead like we saw her baby father was on the show when he came on. So I just think that after a bit of self-realization, she thought, okay, the type of man that this guy is, she's going to need to probably work on herself a little bit more. And the reason why I also come to that conclusion is because her first date with Andre, when they were painting and she broke down, she expressed about how she's been feeling some type of trauma based on what she's been through in relationships. And that bonded her to Andre. Maybe she had that conversation with Anthony at a different time, but for some people, it may be harder to overcome those previous experiences than others. So I think she was being very proprioceptive, very aware that she may not be ready for the type of relationship that she's maybe looking for at the time.
Yeah, JR, I agree with you on that point of not being ready for Andre. The question Kojo will have to ask her later on this week when he interview her is, or we'll find out when Kojo, because we already know Kojo going to go through the background. What is the time frame of her dating her kid's father and the difference with the time of being on this show? Because if she hadn't had little to much time in the dating world, she doesn't know how to transition from what she's been used to. And all she's been used to is pretty much him. So if they had a certain energy that was always in the relationship, that's what she's used to. And we already see when we seen them in comparison, Anthony is not that energy. Anthony is more calm, laid back. And even she kind of hint to it that when we got to our heated moments, our conflicting moments, it was, she put it more a little bit, the ownership was a little bit on her and her behavior. Not so much nothing that Anthony is doing wrong. It was more so she wasn't projecting herself in a better way to deal with that type of man, which is a laid back, calm energy. And this does happen because I have a friend that it has happened to. When she got with her new husband, he has to calm her down. Hey, I'm not that old relationship, so bring it in, you know. And so it just, sometimes we get so complacent in the one thing that we know, that we carry that around to every relationship that we go to, until somebody say, you know what, you need to break this habit because this is what's setting you back in the dating world. And we don't see it. And it's a good thing that she actually recognizes and say she wants to work on it. Now, do she really want to work on it for Anthony? That I don't know. You know, because that back was turned kind of hard. Now, I ain't gonna admit, I kind of was like, maybe she had this back so we could see the back of the dress, because I didn't know the back was all out like that. And it was like, you know, and maybe she want him to see her back too. Maybe he's like, yeah, you got a sexy back. Maybe, I don't really know. But she couldn't even turn to look at him. Even when she was like, I'm working on it for you, babe. That was like a little bit of a, you get the shoulder eye, side eye view. That's all you're going to get. So I was just like, whoa. Now he may have said something, and not in a negative way, but she might have taken it a negative way of how she was behaving or how she moved or whatever. And she's still mad about whatever was said, you know, because sometimes when we hear about ourselves, we don't always take it well, especially if it's the first time hearing that we have this certain problem or whatever. So I think she just didn't take it well. They got up there, maybe even got a little argument tit for tat before the show, and this is the outcome. Because I was like, that is a strong back to him. I'm like, brother is nothing but breathing on the back of your neck at this point. It was a whole wall there. So I didn't understand that. In no way is production going to place you and really have you sit like that. Like, they're going to move her in a different angle if it was a dress malfunction. Like, seriously, they're not going to place her because it makes a split screen. And if you're like doing this and you're visually in tune with production, that's not what they want. So I don't know what transpired. They both was giving roundabout answers to, I don't know if this is really going to come back together, but if she says she going to work on it, she going to work on it. We going to see. So here we are. It was a little disappointing though, because I did kind of have hopes in them. They seem equally matched as while we watching it. But I guess, like I said, when you finally realize you wish something different, you realize you have to change yourself. And so she's like, shoot, I want to be this. I presented myself as this woman this whole time. So let me work on actually being this woman.
Yeah, and I think this is part of the conversation we had earlier on in the season about saying that, you know, as men, or at least let me say as a man, if I hear you say, listen, I need the right type of man to be feminine, I'm going to leave you straight there where you're standing. Because you don't need the right type of man. You need Jesus, okay? You need to come to Jesus moment, okay? And you need
that's the right type of man, Coco. That's the right type of man.
That is the right type of man. That's what, and he a man and he God. That's the problem. He's man and God. That's the problem. I haven't got that divinity, unfortunately. But you know, and so it's because while we were saying that, it's not to be mean. It's more of a case of it's more of a case of in the sense of people need to practice these set of behaviors. And the reality is, can your patience outlast their behavior? And most people's patience can't outlast the behavior, right? How many hits can you take before you go down and they're standing, you know? And that question has been slightly answered by Anthony and by Cynthia, right? So, you know, I'm glad she took accountability and told us there's some behaviors that she didn't handle him very well, you know, and didn't deal with him very well. But again, I think this kind of goes back to some of those points that we were saying when she was talking about her situation. And then don't get it twisted, please don't. Like, you know, we do get emotional. I just felt like when she was getting emotional with Andre, I just feel I was like, sis might need to do a little bit more work. There might be a little more work that she may need to do. You know what I mean? And the fact that she was choosing Andre up until the very end, when she was clearly telling us he didn't even have the depth that she even required. He was not having he didn't have the depth that she required, and she was almost making up for it in a sense. And he was having to even plead that he's got the depth, etc., etc. So even all of that, it's like, yeah, sis. Well, I was all because I felt like Andre was always the one that she was going for. And remember, we were saying, all of us were kind of saying early in the season, it did feel like she was excited by every prospect. And that may be an issue a little bit down the line. So we all did kind of see there may have been some issues there. And it's not to say against if it's bad. It's again just something we noticed. Go for it.
I think the honesty with the Andre situation is, even though he likes to keep saying I date women with children, he's probably not giving that definite "you're really going to be around" energy.
Exactly.
And that's probably why she didn't go there. She probably, I mean, I don't doubt that she did like him a lot and want him more than Anthony, you know, but I think she just chose what she thought would be best. And she probably thought she can handle his energy on a regular basis. But, you know, sometimes you got to get with certain people to realize I need to work on myself. And so that's what that was. It was just God's placement and putting Anthony in her life for her to realize there's some parts of me I still need to work on to finish my healing journey, because this person is a little bit more healed than me. And Anthony is a little bit more healed. He's just like, I'm not about to go for this. My energy is just not about to go for no BS.
I was going to say, I think Anthony was like hesitant in the beginning to take her seriously. And he's probably like, I should have went with my gut instinct, you know, because it took him a while to really actively pursue her, because he's kind of more really laid back to the point where like he reminds me of the type of guy that, you know, he wants to make sure a woman's really into him before he even, you know, will start reciprocating that energy. So I think he waited for a while. And I think she kept showing him like, you know, hey, like, I'm really wanting this. I'm really going for this. And then he finally like stepped up. He did the little, you know, the little kiss out of the water or whatever. So I don't know. On his end, I could see where he's probably really disappointed right now, because it's like, you presented to me like you're really ready for this, but you're not. And I don't know if she, like, I don't know. It almost seems like she wants to be someone different than who she is. Like, she almost came onto the show maybe for a fresh start. Like, let me try to start dating different people. Like, let me just get out of whatever. And like, you know, she wasn't there yet. You know, she thought that being on the show would get her there, and maybe it just didn't, is kind of what it's giving to. Because I think she seems like a genuine person. Just from what we can see on TV. So I think, I want to say her intentions were in the right place, and that she just thought she was more, you know, ready for something that she actually wasn't. Because Anthony's body language too wasn't very comforting. Like, he had some moments where he could have been like, okay, babe, like, you're working on it, it's okay. But he was just kind of like, you know, yeah, you got some things to work on. If you want to do it, you'll do it. Like, he didn't look very he didn't look like he was having it too much. And I do appreciate that about him. I think he's someone that just really knows what he wants. Him and Blake, I think, are the two guys on the show that really just know what they want, and they're very unapologetic about it. And I respect that. So I do appreciate that he is someone who knows what he wants. But yeah, I would say that's the biggest disappointment. I was looking forward to something more between them. But maybe we were forcing it, you know, and it just really wasn't really there from the start. Because sometimes you want better for someone and they want better for themselves, but they just aren't ready. And, you know, they were put in the same vicinity, but, you know, it just wasn't going to happen. So it is what it is. But yeah. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot that can be said about her having her back to him, because if you're breaking down body language, you know, we just talked about Mercedes and Mark Anthony. They seem pretty close, hugged up and everything on the scenes that they were. And we had, you know, people can analyze that with Anthony and Cynthia, then if you look at their body language, it looks completely cold. Like there's no way he would want to be sitting there if they were still booed up or on good terms. There's no way he would be happy with just staring in the back of her headpiece while she's talking to everybody, right? So her giving him the back was that could definitely be something. But when I go by the way she coyly looked over her shoulder and alluded to the fact that, you know, they've been good. It's just that she needs to work on herself. And then the way he said, he kind of reaffirmed her by saying, yeah, he's cool with it. She's going to take time. He has to respect that decision. He didn't seem pissed to me. But if she had have got Andre as her, ended up with Andre, I'm telling you, Andre would have done the same thing that he did with Jeffrey. It wouldn't have been for the same reasons, because obviously her child's father is present, but he doesn't like the child's father. So the kids will be a reason for him to cut out and dip. So she's found someone in Anthony who has a child of his own. So they're aligned in that respect. And Anthony doesn't seem like the type of guy that's going to cut and run. I haven't seen that from him. He seems like quite a solid, stable guy. That's why some people think he's boring or disingenuous. You know, he doesn't have that toxicity, that passion, that, oh, you're my woman. He doesn't have that in him from what we've seen. So as stoic as he is, I have to feel like he's got a serious profession. So maybe he's being a bit solid because he knows that he's got to go back to his job. And in his field, he probably can't act a fool. And I don't think that's him anyway. And Cynthia, like I said, I have to give her kudos because it takes a lot of self-reflection. It takes a lot of strength to realize that you have a flaw that you need to work on in the first place. So for her to do that and to sensibly break it off so that she took that time, that's a mature way to handle it. At least she didn't do anything, slanderous or scandalous and create bad blood between them. Like it, you know, they had a discussion, a conversation, and they've mutually agreed that it's the best thing to do. So I can't be mad at that. I think her connection with Andre, like I said, is primarily because he got information out of her that she was keeping very guarded. And that release, that feeling secure, feeling comfortable with Andre to express that, that's what I think bonded her to Andre to some extent throughout the season, because she wasn't that vulnerable from what we saw with any of the other guys. It was Andre, and he didn't offer anything in terms of, yeah, you know what, I'm going to be there for you and your kids. He didn't say that. Anthony said that. When the baby daddy said, how do you know that this isn't an act that she's putting on? You know, like Anthony was there like, nah, he's seen her for who she is, and he appreciates her. When the baby father said, oh, you know what, well, how are you going to deal with the kids and you're going to have to deal with me, something to that effect. Anthony said, listen, I'm leaving now, but here, take my number. Me and you can talk, because I'm still going to be dealing with her regardless of what you say. So Anthony seemed like he was solid. She seemed like she was solid. And if she does need to take time out, I respect her for doing that rather than drag him through the coals over an issue that is nothing to do with him based on a previous relationship experience she had. I think it was a very mature thing to do. But again, I just take issue with having her back towards him, because that just gave off a signal like that's the cold shoulder, like he did something wrong, or she did something wrong, or there's beef between them. There wasn't.
Can we speak on why Andre was so excited? Oh, damn, I froze. But why he was so excited, and during that whole segment, he had the biggest smile on his face. I'll be back because obviously my camera froze.
Hater energy, big hater. He didn't want them to succeed. That's the only thing I got from it with the smile. He was kind of looking like, oh, well, what happened? Trouble in paradise? You know, kind of, you know, that's what, that's what he was giving. So, yeah. Andre's not a serious guy. He's not a serious guy. I don't take him seriously at all.
I agree. It was almost like to say, oh, well, his relationship didn't work with Jeffrey and he got smoked for that and all of that. And then he looks over and he sees, oh, so you guys didn't work either, and look how tight you were, and look how everybody thought you were going to work and you didn't. So I think Andre kind of felt validated that he was able to come off the show with a couple. I think that kind of made him see, like, see, it's difficult. And she changed her mind, just like I did with Jeffrey. She changed her mind after leaving the show, so he felt a sense of justification.
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, I agree with that as well, guys, and I think there's a little mischief in Andre because, I think that I think him laughing at the situation, looking at it, it's it's one of those moments where you're right, you're not happy. You're happy that the person's broken up, right? And you're absolutely right. I think it's one of those things where it's like, I'm not the only one. But I'm not the only one in terms of the fact that, you guys were, I don't think he believed their connection, personally. I don't think he believed their connection was as strong as his and her connection. That's what I think. And that's why the laughter's happening, right? And vice versa. I didn't think his connection with Jeffrey was that strong either, personally. So I think he had a better chance with Cynthia, but I think and I said it in my review of it, I think the biggest reason why he's laughing is because the very things he was pointing out about Cynthia. And I think he's almost saying, see, when I said I saw these things about Cynthia, y'all were looking at me some strange way, but now you've seen it as well, Anthony. Okay, now you've seen what I've seen. Probably the baby daddy issue too might have come up as well. Maybe that came up a little bit later on too. Who knows? So I do feel like, the situation of Cynthia and Anthony, it's not just the fact that she's even got her back to him. It's the fact that there's so much space between the two of them. You know what I mean? So she could have still if it was a dress situation, he could have sat right beside her, like how Mark Anthony was doing with Mercedes, and she could have still had her back sighted to him. Do you know what I mean? Because her dress needs to be covered. None of that. There's so much space between them. I could swim in the ocean that way. You know what I mean? Like, it was just so much gap between the two of them. And so I think personally something happened that was, a previous behavior that she's done before in the past. Maybe she said she wouldn't do it again, and it's come up again. And, he's unfortunately struggled to recover from it because Faye, as you pointed out, his energy also too wasn't one of like, we're going to make it work. She's been working on herself. His energy was like, well, if it's going to be, it's going to be. Like, if she's going to do it, she's going to do it. Almost as if he doesn't believe what she's saying. Right. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't believe in their chemistry. The kiss at the very end looks so forced. At the end of the show, before they went off, I didn't think their kiss was that cute. I personally didn't. The
I
kiss
didn't either. It looked weird.
It did look weird, didn't it? Right? I mean, the kiss in the pool was probably a bit better, but the kiss that at the end looked hella forced, almost as if they're telling you to kiss your castmate for the very first time and your acting role, and you're like, we're not sure how we're going to do this. So I didn't personally believe their connection was as... I think it missed the sensuality. I think it misses sensuality. And I'm going to say that maybe that's not just on her side. I think that's both of them. I just don't get I don't get that energy from Anthony. I think he's a really cool guy, chill, but I don't get the energy that, I don't know, not everyone likes this, but when like you like your girl a lot, you just want to put your hands all over her. You want to, you know what I mean? You want to be close to her. You know what I'm saying? You want to touch her. You know what I'm saying? Like, you want to smell her essence. And I mean that figuratively. But you know what I mean? Like, you want to be, sensual. And I do not get the energy that Anthony is giving sensual energy to Cynthia. And that could be very hard on the other end too, when you're not getting that energy reciprocated. Whereas I can see that more of Andre, more hands-on, more touchy, more flirtatious. And actually, Andre is quite closer to James. He's an eccentric. So is James. They're both eccentrics. Anthony's completely different. He's not an eccentric person. So yeah, I just felt like that was kind of missing maybe from their connection. So I think there's a few things that are going on. But Jay, your thing got cut off, and then we didn't get to finish your point. I'll let Faye go back in.
Oh no, I was just asking that question. What did y'all? Why was Andre's
Oh.
face? Yeah, so lit up during that moment. I was like, why are you so happy? Like he about to try to slide in there.
I'm not sure. Faye, what are you saying? Did you want to add anything else?
No, not really. I think I do agree that Anthony's energy towards her is not, maybe it's the aggression thing. I think Cynthia probably needs someone that's gonna like I don't want to say fight for her because that's tired, but just go a little bit harder, I think, because even in the moment when he was going back and forth with the father of her children, her ex, it seemed like the energy that he was trying to project was forced towards the end, like, I'm gonna be around. I think he said something like that. It seemed like that's not really his personality to really do that. And he's gonna have to pull that out a lot more with her. And I don't know that he necessarily has that for her either. So it's like, I don't want to put it all on Cynthia. And unfortunately, just the way the show is set up, you only have so many people you can connect with. So sometimes we might be forcing things with people. Like this might not be the best match. I think at the time it seemed like it made the most sense and it was not toxic. So we were rooting for it, toxic. I know that's played too, but I think it was the most sensible, mature thing you could root for at the time. But looking back, I'm just like, I don't think this was a good match on either end, honestly. So that's all, sadly.
Totally hear you as well. Someone said he doesn't give you break your back energy, and you know what? Yes, that's true as well. But it's not just that. He doesn't give you, just I don't know, just that you almost want to scream at him, touch her, bro. Why are you so scared of touching her? Like she's not gonna break. You know what I mean? I think that's part of it as well. That tactile energy, a little bit of that give and go. What are you saying, JR?
Yeah, I don't think he can do that. I mean, she said she's not ready, and he has to respect it. He can't be putting, trying to, come here, girl. You're gonna be mine anyway, and we'd have something to say about that because he's kind of leeching on her at that point. Like, so, she's made the decision to step away, and he can't beg and plead. I don't even think they're at a stage where there's that level of investment yet. So, they had their moments in the retreat, and I think I'm not expecting them to be too sensual. Then they're not even lovers. There's no passion there yet. They're still finding each other and discovering each other. And I think at this early stage, if she's realized there's certain things that she needs to work on, he has to just accept it. He has to just keep it pushing. You can't make a fuss about it because they haven't been together that long. There isn't that emotional investment. They're not. I mean, the connection's still very fresh. So, I can't be mad at him for that. And I can't be mad at her either. I think it's just a couple that, although they have a connection, although they like each other somewhat, there are still some things that they need to work out before they can, call it a relationship and take it to that level. There may be more than one thing, but at least they've both acknowledged that it's not ready for that yet.
It's not there. I think we got to take our L, y'all. It's not there.
Are we all taking L's? They killing us off the internet, huh? They taking us out. Jeez.
It's not there. I think it's a reach. I don't think it's gonna happen, y'all. Yeah, I don't think the passion. Anthony has a nonchalant personality, just in general. I think he's kind of, but I think it's not gonna happen with these two.
I don't think it's coming back. That energy gave me, I'm not really working to come back. I'm gonna work on it, but not for you.
That may be true too. But at least she didn't lead him on and drag him down a rocky road before coming to that realization,
Yeah, I mean, after I guess a couple of little back and forths, you know what I'm saying, and you realize that person not giving you that energy, and you don't like how you coming across. You just like, I'll work on it. But in the meantime, if I find something else to work on while I'm working on it, I'm gonna go ahead and go over there. Because if I can find somebody with your energy, but more of whatever else I like, I'm gonna go for it. So wish these two best of luck at finding their person.
Totally hear you on that. Love that. Okay, next couple. Let's move on to who was on this thing. I'm trying to think. Is anyone else before I go on to Tony Morgan, Marcia situation? I guess that's the last one, right? Because I don't think there was anyone else, was there? So I think that was it. So we'll go on to Tony Morgan. So Tony Morgan, Natasha, Marcia situation. Let's talk about them. Let's talk about them, guys. What's you guys' thoughts on this awesome quadruple?
Can I just say that we talking about Marcia Morgan? That's what we talking about, right? We're talking about them.
Okay, a whole bunch of it, yeah.
Yeah. So okay, like with the Marcia Morgan spot specifically, I think it was just like really bad miscommunication, bad communication, bad word choice, because I kind of got where Morgan was going with what she was saying. But to call somebody a distraction is kind of triggering. So I'm not mad at Marcia for actually standing up and just like defending herself and saying, hold up, you're not going to call me that. It could have been easily deaded had Morgan said, like, that's not, I mean, you know what I'm saying, but let me finish, whatever. But to raise energy back with Marcia in that moment, it was combative. And it was like, sis, you coming off real hurt right now. For somebody that's unbothered, you seem hella bothered by the situation. And I know Tony ain't making it no better because every 5 seconds he running up under Marcia, is running back to Marcia just to piss me off more. He even makes a point to mention that he's going on dates with her. What was the point of it? We didn't need it. We didn't need the information. Again, him and Mark Anthony doing the kind of the same thing. You're giving us information we really don't need to know. If Marcia wanted to let the world know, she could have easily told Morgan, hey, look, I'm still dating this man. So whatever you got going on, sis, I am nobody's distraction. But she didn't. So she was trying to keep that little bit under wraps. Tony doing too much again, running his mouth a bit too much again. And now these girls is fighting. I don't know if anybody else want to speak on that before I jump over to anybody else in this whole debacle. It's a lot of characters.
It is. I'm with you though, Jay, on that one. I think I understood what Morgan was trying to say, but I'm happy Marcia, she stood up for herself. I would have done the same thing. Like, you're not gonna call me no distraction. Your little rant, you can have it, but you're not gonna do that. And I like that she kind of, she went toe to toe with her on that. I think Morgan, when she gets mad, she lets it. Ooh, my gosh. She's a likable person. Like her character is likable. Even though she's toxic, I think the same about Tony. So I'm not biased. I think Tony's a likable character too, even though he's toxic. But ooh, that hothead energy. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, everybody knows what I've been saying about Morgan from the start, and it's only been proven and cemented in the way she's gone off on both parts of the reunion on multiple castmates at multiple times. The thing is, you can make your point without calling somebody else's name. And she deliberately starts confrontation. Now, why is she so pressed about Marcia? Like, she even made the comment, "Oh, your second choice. That's why you mad." Listen, if truth be told, Tony picked Natasha to date before he dated you. Your second choice. That's what really happened. He was dating someone off the show before he got with you. So your second choice. She seemed to be too mad at everybody. She should be mad at herself for this. She has no self-control. The more she goes off on people, the more she erupts and explodes. If I was sitting there as one of these guys, I would be like, man, I definitely dodged the bullet. Because if she's not tussling with Tony, then she's tussling with somebody else. She's telling Mark Anthony, stay your ass over there. She's telling Tony, I'll destroy you. She's telling Tony multiple times, I'll hurt you. All these different things. We've covered it. So I don't see the same redeeming qualities that you guys do. I see multiple eruptions, multiple times she showed volatility. She doesn't have a level head, a cool head when it comes to these type of situations. So that to me is concerning, because she also said she's never been in love before. If she's genuinely looking for it, she can't show up to a guy presenting this type of energy and expect the relationship to go smoothly and have love and affection in the way that it's supposed to be done. Like Tony, he's already said that he told her about Natasha. He also, as we heard this episode, he told Marcia about Natasha as well. Now, I think that he told them because, as we found out, Natasha was speaking to production. So he didn't want either Natasha to be messy and come out and tell the girls before he did, or production to let it slip. So he got there first and ate it before he got outed. Now, if Morgan knew that he was linking Natasha, she also knew that he was keeping Marcia around, or had an interest in Marcia as well, right? Then she's complicit in this madness, because she could have stepped away and said, nah, you got too much going on. From when you're dating Natasha, nah, I'm out. From when you're dating Natasha and you said you would rather keep Marcia around than date me, nah, I'm out. She had two distinctive opportunities to leave, but she stayed so that she can be with him and then continuously be vengeful on him for the choices he made during the process, about him not doing actions that are unbecoming of a man and all these other things. Emasculation, always trying to shame him, right? So that must be quite frustrating to watch. And from Tony's side, I definitely think Tony is, everybody villainized Blake, but Tony, if we had known all of this from earlier on, he definitely should have been villainized, because you're on the show. How are you dating someone that's been eliminated? You already know that like, what are you doing? Eliminate yourself as well so you can date Natasha off camera. Why are you still staying in the process to date Marcia and Morgan if you already know that you're linking Natasha? So, like, that's player right there. And I don't know why, like, a sensible person will come on the show and do that. So Tony definitely deserves smoke. And Natasha, man, it seemed like she's trying to shame Tony as well, because not only was she talking to production, she's off the show, Why is she talking to production about what she did with Tony? So it seemed like she agreed to do something and keep it on the quiet. Then she decided at some point that she was going to try and out him. And he just got there first before she can do it. So I heard a little bitterness in that. And then she also tried to bring up a drinking problem. Like, she talking about, yeah, she was concerned that you got a drinking problem. Morgan ain't said nothing about no drinking problem. Marcia ain't said nothing about no drinking problem. So how is this relevant to what we're talking about? Nobody's talked about a drinking problem with Tony. He's a hothead. He doesn't like people trying to embarrass him, and he will give pushback. That's what we see. So Tony definitely deserves smoke, because he needs to control himself better, and he also needs to make better choices. If you know you're feeling Marcia, who's the complete opposite energy of Morgan, focus on Marcia. When she left, why didn't you go behind her? If that's who you really wanted to be with. Why are you staying there with Morgan? To get heated and have back and forths and have arguments all the time. And as far as Morgan said, they haven't even slept together. Morgan said they have not even slept together during the time of the show. So where is this? What is bonding you to this person other than the madness that's happening between you two, the back and forths? So it's not healthy. So and I think also Marcia did the right thing. She's saying that, okay, they had a connection, but she refused to date him at nighttime where things could possibly lead to something else. So I think that's a smart move on her part. Don't get involved like that.
JR said,
Cool.
yeah, JR. I think he got hit with a couple of strays in that too. I don't know.
Good one, Good one, JR. I appreciate you. You know, when you come with that pastoral, we love it, man. Just hitting them with the strays. We love that. But I definitely hear you. I definitely think that, you know, with the Morgan and Marcia situation, I agree with most of what you guys have said. You know, definitely she could have worded it better. I just wish, and the thing is, I get what she was saying. Well, I think we all do get what Morgan was saying, in the sense of Tony would have had somebody else there who he would have been able to spend more time with. But I think she was very conscious in choosing the words distract. And that's the problem with Morgan. It's very intentional in her behaviors. She could have chosen a different word. When Marcia said distract, she could have said, okay, you know what? I changed the word. What I really mean is, you know, and rephrased it. You know, he would have had more time with you and he wouldn't have to focus so much on me and trying to control me. But no, she doubled down because no one's going to tell Morgan what to do and how to do it, when to say it, and how she has to say that. So, you know, I think in that instance, you know, with Morgan, she set it up to have she set it up. She wanted to have the argument with Marcia, you know, because she had already earlier on asked her, Marcia, why are you looking in my face? Is that something you want to say? When she had a sort of situation with Mark Anthony. So, you know, she had been waiting for that moment, you know. And so when that moment came, she took it with both hands. So I just think to myself that, you know, I love the fact that Marcia did stand up to her, because it's like, you know, everyone else had to kind of fold and kind of, you know, lay flat, and then Morgan walk all over. And it's like, no, you're not going to do that with Marcia. Marcia's like, no, you're not going to do that with me. I'm not going to allow you to walk all over me just because you want to, and because you scream and shout the loudest. No, it's inappropriate, and I was stand up for myself. So I did love the fact that she did do that as well. So I think their beef, again, for me, talks about Morgan's behavior. It's like, Morgan, you are mean and unnecessarily mean. Yeah, unnecessarily mean. Yeah, it's not cute. That part is not cute. So, you know, I think she'll have to look at herself and look at that. But yeah, that thing with Marcia, yeah, she needs to kill that game. No need to be that, you know. And any other thoughts on the Marcia and Morgan situation before we move it to Tony Morgan aspect?
I do think that with Morgan, and when I say she's likable, I mean she's likable for TV. Tony, like they're, you know, their characters as I'm watching the show. I do think the behavior is not good, but for TV, I think likable in that way. But I will say I think she has a need to kind of show other women in a competitive way, like Tony has his eyes over here. Like, he might be dealing with you for a time, but ultimately he's gonna come back with me. And I think Tony does the same thing. You know, he did the whole thing with Lyndon back and forth, like, she's just playing with you, but she'll be back over here type of thing. So I do think she picks the fights with the women intentionally. It is not nice behavior. But I think that's what the Marcia comment was about, kind of showing her that, you know, look, you're just a distraction, but I'm the main one, you know, type of thing. And then when she said the comment about Natasha too, you know, putting her down, you know, almost to then put herself, you know, again in that same situation. So I think she always has that need to do that when it comes to Tony.
I'll just say this last thing. Morgan has been living in her pretty privilege on the negative side of things. Like, this is the first time, and we're getting her saying, oh, that person on TV I don't recognize. It's because everybody's been letting you get away with it. because they either want something from you or whatever the case may be, and you're pretty privileged to let you get by. Like, let's be honest. She's been working in her little field, doing all these little rants, and you can be a mean girl, you can do all these things, and it's okay because you're like the head of the cheerleader, or you the class most beautiful person. But when you get on TV around adults, this behavior is really not acceptable, because really it's an insecurity, and you're trying to disguise it as something more, as something this overconfident. Like, when you in arrogance, it's an insecurity. Let's be honest. You don't have to be overly confident and overly cocky around everybody. And what happened was, in this moment, him still talking to Marcia at this present time lets you know that you really wasn't that one, or you're just not as cute and you can do whatever you want as you think you can. So what Morgan really has to do is just come to some realization and humble herself a whole lot, because even through this whole thing, she still doesn't think she's a problem. She still doesn't think she does anything wrong. And it's everybody else. It's me against the world all the time. Everybody's coming at me. Everybody's doing this to me. She's always the victim in her own movie. So she has to step out and actually see where she's contributing in a lot of these factors, and really work on that instead of pointing to everybody else what they need to work on. Because the irony of a lot of things that she says is a lot of things that she actually needs to work on herself. When she's telling other people that they need to work on this, that, and the third, those are the same things that she herself needs to work on. And it's weird that she can recognize it in other people, but can't do it in herself. So maybe her seeing herself back on the show now realize, okay, these are the areas that I need to work on. But through that apology she gave Natasha, we already know she still don't really get it. So, I don't know.
Go for it, Sean.
Sure. So, I would say this is, and I agree with everything that Jay just said, it is projection at its finest, because they tell us quite often, some of us up here on the panel, and you, Kojo, that you're projecting and this, that, and the third. Well, if I've ever seen a case of somebody projecting, it is with Morgan, right? She, always, she calls people out for things that she actually embodies. So I just think it's very ironic. And I know we talked earlier, on your other live via, in the comments, but I think it's very interesting that she called Blake a malignant cancer, but that just went unaddressed. And I feel like, her feet are not fully being held to the carpet for the nasty things that she says. And it's almost like we glaze over it, and even myself, I'm guilty of it, because last episode, with the first part of the reunion, there it was funny, right? It was funny to see her go off on Mark Anthony, and how she was just snapping at everybody. But ultimately, she never really got accountability or was ever held accountable for her actions. And she just will continue to operate in this vein. And it's like, you want to throw Tony to therapy, which he very well may need, but what about you? You should be advocating for yourself for therapy. And as fine as she is and beautiful as the shell is, it's unfortunate that she feels like she's justified in just going off on anybody. And for me, I think it's the ultimate in a lack of emotional regulation. When you just say things and you just talk from the top of your head without thinking about how it's going to impact somebody else. She said Tony is a monster. She called Blake a malignant cancer. But then she walked back these comments at a later date, but you've already done the damage. You've already spewed the venom, and the damage has been done. And you're nowhere near accountable for the negative, nasty, mean, vile things that you say. And fortunately, people don't, for the most part, take your commentary too seriously, it seems like. But I think she does need to be really held accountable. And even she did that Carlos King interview, and all he did was just gas her up. You talk about Mark Anthony talking about gas me up. Well, she didn't even have to solicit Carlos to gas her up because he just gassed her up and pretty much put her on a pedestal for being mean and rude and nasty and hurtful to people. My thoughts.
But you got to remember too, Carlos King is a show producer. So like Faye was saying, she's good TV. So him gassing her up, I can see why he might be trying to put her in the works or something coming up. You know how he get to doing or whatnot. JR, I know you want to make that face, but reality is if we didn't have Morgan on this season and her thing with Tony and all this stuff, the majority of this reunion has been surrounded about her. If you really look at it, she carried pretty much this whole reunion. And a lot of people have been entertained by just her antics alone because she don't really take herself seriously where she should. So she's good to me. Sorry, JR, go ahead.
Yeah, but the point is I agree. She's been featuring a lot, but it's for a lot of negative things. Nothing to do with actually being on the show to love someone or, find that deep connection. Tony is a misguided choice in terms of finding love with. And if she's mad at herself for doing that and she's lashing out on everyone, then say that, right? But I think as loud as all the malignant cancer comments and the coming for people and the outbursts, as loud as those things were, the apologies need to be louder because you can't just backtrack quiet. It's like over here in the UK, these newspapers will splash something controversial. Then when they get it wrong, you have to go right to the middle of the paper and send a small apology right here. Like, that's what she's doing. It's like some minor apology that everyone can just gloss over. Yeah, Blake wasn't really that bad. Yeah. But you were calling him out. you roasted him on that date and you carried that energy for a long time based on hearsay from what you heard from your homegirl. Right? You didn't even give Blake a chance to have a date. She said she never dated him because, basically what she heard about him. So with regards to how she acts, like I've always said, the reason why I bring her up when she comes up with these things is it's zero self-reflection. She's telling people that they need therapy. She said Blake needs therapy, and she was doubling down on that. She said Tony needs therapy. But the most hot-headed person on the show is Morgan. The one that's at the center of most of the stuff that's happening and firing shots everywhere is Morgan. So clearly, if she's looking for love, she definitely needs an outlet to get rid of all that stuff so that she can harness the other energies that she has and find a relationship that isn't going to be problematic. Maybe a better partner will bring out better things in her and we won't have to hear about those things. Well, we won't anyway because the show's over. But
I think luckily for the men, like they didn't really take her too seriously. I think her interactions with the women, and I'm not justifying any of the behavior. It is bad. I think it's good for TV because it's entertaining, it's drama. It reminds me of like Basketball Wives, Atlanta Housewives, some of the little altercations they'd have on there. But I think the men, I think in general, I think Blake kind of realized his audience very quickly. Like with Jeffrey, he was just like, all right, not going there. He tried to figure out what was the problem with Morgan. He realized he's like, all right, whatever. Like, this is just, she's this kind of woman. And then I think, with the other men, they kind of figured that too. Mark Anthony's still cool with her, but he's like, this girl's crazy. Like, I think he even said it in one of his confessionals, like, she's crazy. So I think a lot of times they don't really take like her antics very seriously. And then I think with Tony, he gets a little worked up, but it's more, in the relationship sense. But no one, even her ex and the whole Nair situation, that could have been blown up more, I think, on his end, too. And that could be some of the pretty privilege, people just are like, okay, she's beautiful, so she can do what she wants to do. But, I think in terms of accountability, she has none. I mean, I don't think if we're looking for accountability from her, it's never going to happen. Well, I don't want to say never, because maybe one day, she will come to that conclusion on her own. But I don't think we're going to see it publicly, especially with the way that she moves. So in that way, it's just like, I think we get from Morgan, it kind of is what it is with her, unfortunately. I wish that she would have come out and apologized to Natasha publicly, like verbally, like she could have apologized when she did the interview. I think that would have been nice if she would apologize to Natasha verbally instead of just the statement that she put out, because I thought that was a lot of smoke for Natasha for really no reason at all. But other than that, I think when it comes to Morgan, you just have to know you're getting what you're getting.
Yeah, I just would disagree in that we can just go ahead and minimize this and just say, oh, you get what you get. Because when she made that comment about Blake, you had a whole faction of people, drawing narratives. And I think, thankfully there were a good chunk of women in your audience, Kojo, that wasn't believing what she was saying. But there were a population of people who built stories and connected dots that we still to this day haven't seen evidence of that was shown on the show. So I just think it's dangerous, and that I hope it's a cautionary tale for anybody that bought her story to kind of take a step back before you just take someone at face value and immediately jump on the bandwagon. So it just shows to me the dangers of echo chambers. And I hope, as much as she is great for reality TV, we should have had those same sentiments when she was running off at the mouth and firing shots at everybody. People should have been like, oh, she just might be firing shots because she just seems a little bit, she seems a little bit loose with the lips. So let's not just get too fully invested in what she's saying versus saying, oh, no, he's definitely a narcissist. And, then everything gets backed into that. Oh, because he didn't like answering Kojo's questions. Now that's evidence that he's a narcissist. No, it's not. It's not evidence that he's a malignant cancer. He's an evasive person that didn't want to deal with or answer some of the questions that Kojo answered. And that's okay. There's tons of people like that in Ready to Love, man and woman alike. So I think we just need to be careful of how we paint people in a corner and are so quick to take the word of one before we know the full story. So I think that is what I hope we take away, and don't just say, oh, it's just Morgan being Morgan, because that's how she continues to get away with that kind of behavior. It's because it's just Morgan being Morgan, and that's not right to the people that wind up getting maligned in the middle of her antics.
And again, that's another thing she was like unaware of. People saying Morgan being Morgan is the same as her calling out Tony. Oh, that's just a man being a man. Like, no, that behavior, we got to stop these behaviors, and we got to stop just saying this is what it is. If we really want healthy relationships, we cannot keep acting like this, and it needs to be highlighted. And my one thing I learned about dealing with people on a regular basis is sometimes you have to teach people how to treat you. And that means that they have to relearn how their behavior is showing up in the world with other people. And when you have boundaries and you have standards, sometimes these behaviors don't fit in our world. And it's okay to tell people, hey, I don't like the way you behaving. And you don't show up well. And like when I say that she's good for reality TV, because this is what the villains are always made of, or whatever. And because she's on the Giselle side of everything, where she just don't really get what she's doing is actually wrong. She makes good housewives, these love show reality TV. Now in this setting, she doesn't work. I'm with you, JR. She doesn't work in this setting because you're actually supposed to be looking for love. And if this is how you show up looking for love, you need a lot of help.
And that's why I think she, I don't agree that it's good for television, because as we've seen, and as Kojo said, and as Sean said, and as Jay said, everybody said, when she made these comments about some of these people, a whole wave of people just sided with her. They saw themselves in her, and they just went with it, right? And if we put that on TV to a syndicated television audience on a program or on a Netflix or a BET or whatever it's going to be, or OWN, if they do decide to do a show, there are scores of viewers who are just going to go with that toxicity or lack of self-regulation. And I don't think that's a good thing to put out there. I'd rather see, you know, more couples that are balanced, matched, and they don't have those back and forths. I understand every couple's going to have ups and downs, but there's levels to it. There's some ups and downs that you can actually talk through, work through, get through, grow through. But when you're becoming verbally abusive, like taking jabs personally at someone over and over again, and you're up in the ante every time because of how angry you are, then, you know, that's not good. Like, that needs to be sorted out. So if they are going to make a TV show, hopefully it's a relationship therapy type of show, like an Andler or something like that. That would be good TV, because then we can get to the bottom of some of these issues, and anyone who's going through or identifies with something similar to what she's displaying, they can get help too.
I feel like I'm coming across as really toxic right now, so I'm going to defend myself a little bit on my take. But okay, for Morgan, I am not saying that her behavior is acceptable. However, like when she was talking about Blake, I wasn't necessarily buying her malignant cancer comment. I think some of the onus too has to be a little bit on the audience. Like, we can't just take things and run with it. And, you know, there has to be a little bit more of an analysis when we're looking at some of the stuff that people are saying and who it's coming from too, I think. Because yes, the accountability is on her for saying what she said. I think the show could do a better job of the reunion piece. I think that's where you want to see people being held accountable for the things that they say and do. I would have loved for nephew Tommy to be like, hey, you know, why did you call him a malignant cancer? You know, what was this about? You know, we don't get really that resolution as to like what happens. And I think that's the problem with the show, is that the reunion doesn't bring it together, you know, for the accountability piece that we're looking for. I'm mostly just kind of commenting, you know, in general, like, people sadly like drama. So yes, she is good for TV. Is it good for life and how you should navigate and find love? Absolutely not. No one should be putting down other people, you know, running around saying some of the things that she says. And yes, she does get away with a lot because of her pretty privilege. And I do agree it shouldn't be dismissed as, you know, oh, it's just Morgan. But at the same time, I think we too have to realize that you can't hold everyone accountable. Like, because some people don't want to be held accountable. You can try, you know, we want to, but, you know, there's some people who will never even come on this channel because they don't want to be held accountable. They're going to pick and choose what interviews they do because they know who's going to be asking the hard-hitting questions, who's not, you know. And so I think part of it is just realizing the reality is she is who she is, and she gone Morgan. And Tony gone Tony, you know, at the end of the day. And I think those are the parts that are toxic and that we're kind of like, wow, that's bad behavior. But those are also the parts that keep people entertained, unfortunately, because that's our society and that's how we are. But I just wanted to clear that up, but that I don't condone this type of behavior. That's not acceptable. But I think, you know, in general, we have to know that there's some people that, you know, no matter how much you want to point out someone's behavior, there's some people you just have to say, hey, I'm not dealing with them. Like Blake said, you know what? Not dealing with Jeffrey, not dealing with Morgan. It's cool. I'm done. Because he realized that those are people that they just gonna be who they are, and our energies just don't align, and that's fine. So I think that's an important lesson for people to take away as well.
Yeah, I guess my pushback to you, Faye, and why I wanted a stronger stance, because I think people choose how they hold people accountable. And obviously we can't literally make Morgan be accountable, but there's a way that we can go about talking about her actions where it comes off as though either one, we are feeling and speaking about the wrong things that she did and calling her out for it, or there's a way we can kind of just make it seem entertaining or fodder And that way it almost comes off as though the behavior itself is being minimized, and we're not really talking about her actions and holding her feet to the fire for what she did. And lastly, I'll say, and Kojo made this point earlier, is when it comes to, and I hate doing the man-woman thing, and I'm sorry, but I feel like sometimes what transpires is when we talk about women's behavior and what they do, it's a level of grace that they're given automatically versus men aren't given that same grace. And I think we just need to acknowledge that bias and how it exists, right? Just like Jeffrey, it's okay with her saying up there on a panel, Black men do this every day, right? But the minute we speak out and say not all, but some, you know, people even get upset that we're like, oh, you don't have a right to do that. That's her truth. You know, there are a lot of Black men that do this. And then we start going down this rabbit hole. So I think we just need to be cautious of language, because language is important and it dictates how we truly feel on something. And I think a lot of times men don't get the grace, you know, and thank God that Blake did not go off on her. And he didn't, he shirked off her comments. But there's different people, and different people handle things different ways. And I bet you if he would have flipped out on her like Zoe did to Charisse last season, he would have been called even worse. Oh, he's definitely abusive. He's all types of toxic and da 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 da. But meanwhile, Morgan gets a pass because she said something inflammatory. So that's where my fervor is around making sure we really distinguish her actions were not good. And as much as she can be a great reality star, she is on a reality show, but she's not paid to be a reality star. She was paid to be somebody that's going through a dating process and going on a love journey.
And just to add my final point on this, a lot of people do tune in to Ready to Love not for the connections that are going to be made. They tune in to see the characters that are more expressive, more vocal, and more drama filled, you know. And that's the conundrum that we have. Like, we need to find a balance where we have couples that are genuinely going to be matched together and potentially make it to the end of the show and potentially have a relationship afterwards. We have to have that to counter any of the standoffish, I'm going to go at you, you said this, I'm going to you know, finish you this time, I'm going to destroy you, like all that type of rhetoric. Like, there's a large section of the audience that probably only tune in for that level of drama. And I think if if we do give some of these people their own show, we're not going to see that balance. It is just going to be literally them going off on people left, right, and center. So if that's what you find entertaining, then sure, there'll probably be a successful career from that. But using the show, a dating show where you're expecting to, based on what the title says, see couples come away on a journey for love, you know, that's counterproductive, because that you're not gonna get love from that behavior. How are you gonna have a relationship that's gonna be some mad abusive relationship, and you're gonna be tuning in to see how things escalate every week, rather than seeing these people come together and actually make a healthy relationship work?
I do think it comes back to the show, though, right? Like, we are watching it with these expectations, but the people who've produced it are not giving us that. Like, they don't have therapists on the show trying to, you know, deal with these different personalities and help people through situations. You're not seeing people be, you know, even though there's the double standard, Sean, that you kind of talked about, I think you see it for certain people. Like, if they're likable, they get away with it. You know, Tony, I think his feet could be held closer to the fire on how are you sleeping? You know, like JR said, how are you going to be sleeping with somebody off the show, you know, and you're here looking for love. And I mean, they just kind of brushed it off like, oh, Tony, what did you do? You know, oh, Tony. You know, it's like, no, they could have really, there could be consequences for that. You know, you sleep with somebody off the show, you're out. You know, this is about, you know, but there's like, this show is not, it's not as seriously taken, even with the production side of it. So it's like, you know, I get, you know, the perspective, like, you know, we're trying to hold people to the fire and stuff, but it's like where that needs to come from is the production of the actual television show and how it's run, and where they are riding the fine line between maybe if there's a love couple that comes out of that, cool, but we really just trying to have entertainment here. That's really what this show is. You know, how many successful couples do we have out of here? There's not many, you know, so yeah, 4 or 5. And then Simone and Rashid, they were like kind of happenstance. I would say maybe the only organic couple, maybe Joy and Clifton. But the point is, there's not that many successful couples, and I don't think they really care. You know, I think it's more leaning towards the entertainment aspect. So, you know, while I do agree that there are certainly behaviors that should not be tolerated, and we should definitely call them out, I think that part needs to be held more to the show, because as people reviewing it, talking about it, things like that, there's only so much that we can really do. And I think we're watching it, you know, maybe with expectations that might be a little too high, to be honest. Like, you know, that's all I really have to say about that part. And then with the double standard with women and men, I honestly do feel like it's just the likability factor. I know in society it tends to be women can kind of get away with a little more, but I mean, I think you see it here with Tony and Morgan, that people have really turned a blind eye to both of their toxic behaviors. And I think it's because they're likable for TV and people like that character. They like the back and forth between them. She runs off, he goes and chases her. He's pushing everybody out of the way to go find her. Like, people enjoy that. So I mean, I might be a little bit on the toxic side, I guess, for that, but I just think that I'm a little more of a realist, and I just see it as like, this is just what it is, sort of thing. Although I like to hold people accountable as well.
So what I would say to that is that as much as, you know, we can talk about production and the things that they have done to highlight the drama, production didn't make Morgan call Tony a monster. Production didn't make Morgan call Blake a malignant cancer. So I'm not going to deal with production when we're dealing with the person that said the actual words about somebody else. And truth be told, although this is a show, I mean, I definitely don't have high expectations. I've been on Kojo's channel for the last 2-3 years reviewing this show. Trust me, I am not in a state of delusion about what the outcomes on the show are. But what I would say is that the show is a reflection of how people date in real life. And we get to see different people's personalities and different styles of dating, different temperaments, different ways of handling issues. And I think that this can be used as a microcosm or an example of what the dating pool is like. And I think often men get called out for their toxicity and the wrong things that they do, which is, you know, should be, right? But when it comes to women, it becomes more difficult to really have these conversations. And it's not always the 304 or the woman that we can blatantly call out, but it's women like Morgan who operate in a space where things look great. You know, they say some of the right things, but underneath the surface, there's some really emotional damage / toxic behaviors that get glazed over. So I just want to make sure, and when I'm calling out Morgan's behavior, that's the point I'm talking about, is like, hey, let's make sure we highlight this and talk about it and not dismiss it, but call out her actions so that we don't get caught up in that moment where when we see it, whether it's in somebody else or even there's another woman that displays it, we don't just let it go. We don't just let it be passed. We state it for what it is, and we're knowledgeable and conscious of that behavior so that people don't get misrepresentations, you know, because that's how people's reputations are affected in the real world, right? Because there are people just like that who will say things about somebody, who will talk off the cuff. Somebody else will believe it, and it will impact the relationship. You know, friends ruin other friends' relationships all the time and cause problems, whether it's in relationships or coworkers or friendships. So I just want to make sure we're clear on the behavior and very specific about calling out what she's done and not shaking it off for reality TV production or all those other things, but the real Morgan and understanding how damaging her behavior can be.
No, this debate is fire, bro. I'm just listening to you, not fire. Do you have anything to say back, Faye?
I'll just say one thing. I love you, Shine, but I think sometimes the emphasis can be placed too much on the person with the behavior that we're calling out. Like, yes, Morgan behavior unacceptable. We don't like it. Shouldn't do it. Not on TV or in the real world, right? But I think also the onus has to be on us as the audience too, to be able to see things and either just avoid them completely. Like, there's people like her in the real world, like you said, but you can call out the behavior, you can look at it, you can identify it, but past that, what are you going to now do? You know, someone like Blake, I think once he realized what it is, he's like, distance myself immediately. That was great. Like, that's a great lesson. There's some people that you meet like that, and you do have to get away from them because they can be dangerous. So I think like that's kind of a good lesson as well, that some people, you know, you're not able to really change their behavior. And once you do see it, you should get away, or remove yourself or not interact. Because, you know, you see, you know, someone like Jeffrey, it was kind of the same thing. You know, everyone that kind of got caught up with her was something going on. You know, a lot of people peeped it early. Something's not right. Let me just, you know, let me distance myself. So that's my only critique, is that, like, you know, you can call out the behavior, but then at some point it's on other people to recognize and distance or respond appropriately to that behavior, because that person may or may not be willing to change. Probably not, at least not until they're ready.
This is some good stuff. You know, I mean, personally, I think, you know, I definitely believe that. Okay, so for instance, you know, I definitely believe there's always going to be part of an audience which is going to enjoy the toxicity. So there's always going to be a Morgan. There's always going to be people who are going to be problematic, which no one's going to be able to stop unless, you know, producers stop trying to sell ratings, right? I think the other side is that what we can do on the other end is, and we are doing it, and it does make and I'm telling you, it makes an impact, right? Is conversations like this. Some people live in their toxicity and don't realize they're living in toxicity. That's just number one psychology. A lot of people are in dysfunction and have lived in it so long they don't know they're dysfunctional, right? So, you know, I look at the situation between Morgan, Jeffrey, this particular season. A lot of people don't realize some of the behaviors that they're doing is detrimental not only to their own self but to other people around them. And so they are always going to, and this is point in case in life, right? Just look at this situation now. Shout out to Carlos King as well. He did his part. He's thinking from a business perspective. This is real life, right? Someone is moving mad in their behavior. There are always going to be people that will exonerate you and lift you up even in your madness. There are always going to be people like that because there's something to gain from your particular behavior. There are people that are single who are happy to keep you single because they gain from it, you being single. There are people who here want you to be broke because the moment you get some money, they're going to be left behind, right? There are always going to be people that want to see you stay in the same position. So, or if they got something to gain from it, they will encourage that behavior continually. But there are always going to be opposing forces. It's almost like watching a movie where where you have forces of good and evil. If you ever notice, the evil side has more people than the good. Always. There's always an uphill struggle for the good to overcome the evil, but the good doesn't stop. So the reality about life in this situation here, for someone like Morgan or Jeffrey or even Tony as well, is that when we have spaces like this, like you're talking Faye, you're talking JR, you're talking Jay, you're talking Sean, and even our audience as well, right? When we elevate the conversation to be about behavior and we're discussing it and saying this behavior is not conducive to a healthy relationship, we don't need Morgan to be on the panel to know that she listens. Trust me, they do. They pay attention to these stuff, right? They pay attention. So now the listening ear is picking up certain information. The choice up to that person to see what they do. When we do reviews and we're doing these panels, Jay will tell you, Sean will tell you, JR will tell you, there's enough time we've been on a panel. They mention it somewhere else, like, oh, people were talking about me. So you heard. So you heard. So you know what I mean? So it's a case of still having these conversations because it's one of few places that gets to have a level of depth. And I commend my panelists and my audience for this, right? That have a level of depth that when they analyze something, it's not just about Morgan's bad. It's about, no, Morgan, your behavior is bad. And here is why it's bad. X, Y, Z. And I think that's where the importance comes in. Now, I think where you and Sean are kind of meeting at your impasse road also is you're saying, which I agree with you, she's great for TV. She is. In this modern day and era, she is great for TV. She's great for ratings. She's great for viewership. People want to see some toxicity because if they can keep Blue and Christian on my screen, Morgan is a lighter version of those two. I mean, maybe not lighter. She needs a partner, and then she could be the same league as them. But it's the same thing, right? So, but I think also what Sean's was coming from is, I think and maybe less about my audience, but partly my audience as well, and maybe more of the Twitter sphere and other spaces where we talk about Ready to Love. There is sometimes a quickness to label specifically the men, oftentimes in the show, and oftentimes the women are right. Let me concede. There's a lot of times the women have been right? Calling out some behavior of a man, and maybe myself, I'll say specifically, I'll be like, I never really saw that. And then by the end, that Negro done embarrassed me and proved the ladies right? So I'll be honest with you, the ladies have come correct in the past few seasons. In fact, me and Sean talk about this every single time about some of the learning experiences we've had to take as men, learning from the ladies about how sometimes being one-sided makes you lopsided and you don't actually learn. We did it with Married at First Sight. We were so strong on it, and they see someone's already put in a chat because they already know where I'm going. We talk about it all the time where we've had to learn from the ladies too. We can be men and be focused on the men and like, yeah, we're the ones been hurt here, and we don't realize there's an aspect of behavior on our side as well to look at, right? But so we see in this situation, Blake, Jeffrey, Morgan, when we called it out at the beginning, I think this is where Sean was going with it. Some people didn't believe, but then not only that, there's a minimalization on her behavior. I remember such conversation. The person's not here, so I'll let them be here next time. But they minimalized the name calling and said, "Well, it's not defamation. It's not in this. It's not that." And it's like, no. It's dangerous what the person is doing. They're calling that person a malignant cancer. Now, if word of mouth is a very strong thing. If you don't have to see your you don't have to see your friend's ex partners what they do. You only have to hear the testimony of your friend, and you'll believe it. So if somebody says something about someone, you don't have to necessarily see the behavior. You only need to hear their word. and that can become your truth. So the fact that someone was able to say that about Blake, it changed a lot of people's opinions. And in fact, they told us to wait to the reunion just in case. And you know what? Out of experience, I also too said, let me wait, because Negroes have let us down. So I'm willing to wait. I'm willing to wait. I don't want to get stressed and defend my man. And he comes out and he does a hoo-ha. And I've got to now apologize. I'm like, guys, you were right. You know? So again, so I think that sometimes there's a minimalization on the impact of women's behavior on men. We're able to spot the men very easy and the gravity of their thingies. And I would say final point, which is how quickly certain labels are thrown on men. For instance, if I start shouting at a woman now, I promise you now, they're gonna call me a deviist straight away. They're not even gonna wait. That code's a deviist. If I say someone's light skinned and is beautiful, he's a colorist. They just throw it straight on me, right? If I have a moment where I showed my tail a little bit, yeah, he's controlling, he's this, he's that. Very quickly, men are labeled sometimes in these spaces by women. And I think that's where he was going with it. That when we do it for the women, we hold a certain amount of grace for the ladies. Let's try to understand where they're coming from. You know, Morgan's had a hard life. Nobody asked how hard Blake's life was. They just said, I know a man like Blake. I've dated someone like Blake. My ex is Blake. But they weren't asking, what's the story behind Blake? Let me find out what his history is. You know, before I call him controlling and malignant cancer, and let me find out what his story is. No, but with Morgan, it's like, you know, Morgan's really bad. But let's find out her history. You know, I bet you there's some man that's hurt her. I bet you there's some woman that's hurt her. I bet there's someone that's hurt her. That's why she is the way she is. And I think that's where sometimes we differ sometimes in those instances. But I that's why I love this space, because I think what we're doing is having conversations to bring awareness to both men and women's blind spots, right? And I think that's where this conversation is at this point. Both sides have a blind spot. And if we don't work together, I'm going to assume that I ain't got no blind spots. Meanwhile, you can see my bias. And the same thing for you. If you don't come into the spots, you're going to assume you're right all the time, but you have a blind spot. So I think that's where this Ready to Love show is really showing us, when we have these conversations in this great space, how we both can see things that we can work on, you know, both men and women. So there's some toxicity on both sides. So yes, Tony, I think me and Jay spoke about this earlier in the season. We said about this. Me and Jay was pointing about the fact that if Morgan is toxic, where does that leave Tony if he likes it? He needs to be accountable, you know? So yeah. I don't know if anyone else wants to add, because that was a good moment. Shoot. You know, if I want to say so myself, that was a speech.
No, you did that. You did that. You brought it on home, brother. I even wrote in the chat, good mediation, because you brought it on home. You closed that circle. Yeah, we spoke on it. I mean, I get it too, because like really we can give a lot more spoke to Tony, but we have been, some of us have, I put it like that, some of us have been focused a lot on Morgan and her behavior and this whole thing. But Tony has just been just as bad. We see through this reunion. So when we get there, we'll get there. But JR and gave smoke to everybody earlier, so I don't know what left to say, you know.
Yeah, so everyone can get it. Any additions, Faye and Sean? Because I know you two were going at it and I loved it, to be honest. I loved your good conversation. It was good. Yes, Sean.
Yeah, no, I would just reinforce exactly everything you said, right? And then in addition, there's a general sentiment that women are better at relationships than men. And I think that's the point why I just wanted to make sure we drove home that Morgan had some clear actions that needed to be checked, and that she's not alone, right? Morgan is not an anomaly, excuse me. There are a population of women who move and operate just as that. So when women operate with this general consensus that, oh, we're better at relationships than men are, no, you're not. You know, there are some men out here that are extremely toxic and move crazy, but definitely understand there are women that are problematic, challenged, and move in a fashion that is not healthy for relationships as well.
I don't want no smoke.
No, you're giving good pushback. You're giving good pushback face. So I almost called you Morgan then. You're giving good pushback face. So I know I've been saying these things a
Freudian
while.
slip there. Freudian slip, coach.
Bro. No, it's just someone put. I read the chat and then I would talk at the same time. Anyway, Faye, do you have anything pushback? You know, it's always good to have a different point of view or similar point of view, whatever. We like to honor voices here.
I don't disagree with Shine. I feel like it always comes back to the same thing when we end up going back and forth with the men-women thing. So I don't want to do that too much, but I will say that I think my emphasis comes from a standpoint of, like, I also want people to be aware of other people and move accordingly. You know, it's like kind of like the football player that gets caught up with like the groupie or something. That's what type of time she's on, so you're kind of the onus. Like, it's still bad on her part to be doing whatever she's doing to get you caught up, but you got to be smarter and you got to move smarter. And I think that's really all I'm trying to say when it comes to some of these behaviors that you see from people, is just to just be, move better on your part and avoid, or, do what you need to do so that you don't get caught up. That's it.
GRJ, you have any additions to bring it round?
I'm on the sideline like you, just enjoying this tennis match. I'm just
I was just watching it go back and forth over the net. That's what I was doing.
Me too. I'm with Jay on that, man. I'm watching some aces being served, back and forth. But civil discourse is cool. I mean, that's what these panels are about. We're able to articulate our opinions. We may have different opinions. We see the same program, the same behaviors, and we're able to take different sections. And some of it we relate to. Some of it may be a little bit of projection. Some of it may be a bit of bias. But sometimes you have to overlook all of those things and call a spade a spade, right? If we see behaviors that we know aren't going to result in the outcome that these people say that they actually want, or if we personalize it, if we saw a partner exhibiting these behaviors to us, or we exhibited those behaviors to a partner, and we know that it's detrimental, then it's okay to say, look, that was bad behavior. That shouldn't have been done. That shouldn't have been put that way. It's okay to do that. There's no harm, no foul, because those are often teaching moments, learning moments, because then you can see what, you can identify things that are not going to be positive for you. And you can say, okay, well, I'm guilty of doing that myself, or I've been on the receiving end of that, and I don't want to put myself through that anymore.
Not y'all structuring this panel with the men all on one side and the women on the other side, and the men on top and the women on bottom. Okay, no, y'all not. I'm about to get it triggered. I'm about to get people.
You know how it is. You know how it is, Jay. You know how
I'm about to have a Jeffrey moment, get the people going. I'm gonna say something.
Patriarchy hasn't ended. We are still in patriarchal society, baby. Okay.
Let them know, Kojo. Look, and I'm not just speaking in out of the thin air, right? Because these conversations happen, and for anybody who thinks like I'm just grasping at straws, these are real conversations that we've had on this very channel, whether it's a men's panel and the women are in the comments giving their feedback, or if it's on an open panel. These are things that women have said about relationships and them being better. Right. They're also said in social media spaces. So I just want us to, let's not pretend that these things, I'm just pulling out things into thin air. No, these are actual commentary that's happened on this channel. I don't just fabricate. I'm not in the business of fabricating up things. Right. And I think Faye and I are there's some things that we are saying that are very much aligned. right? And there's no smoke. It is just, I just wanted to expand the conversation and make sure that we highlighted some key points and not let her off the hook. As much as I do find her extremely attractive, right? And there were some things that I even said earlier that I entertained. However, I'm not going to sit and pretend like there aren't women in real life that I've interacted like with that, right? Without cameras, without production, without anything, that they move and operate in that space. And we have to be able to call the behavior out, right? Like, I'm probably never ever going to meet Morgan, so I'm not concerned about calling Morgan out personally. I'm concerned about the types of behavior and how that does show up in some people and in relationships, right? And we even had some heated debates amongst the panel, right? Not all the panelists, not all the women panelists, but some, right? And some folks in the comments, and even some still now, are talking about and highlighting the things that they felt like Blake did incorrectly and how it wasn't probably the worst thing, right? And I'm paraphrasing, right? But at the end of the day, it is an interesting dynamic to point out, right? But remember, Blake stayed on the show until the end. So Susu did not have enough power to single-handedly keep Blake on the show, right? So something else was keeping him on the show, whether it was other women who did like him, and several women did come out and say that they didn't mind Blake, that they had good interactions with him, right? He spoke plainly, he was upfront. So I think let's just be cautious where he might not have been the lid for somebody else's pot. That doesn't make him toxic and a malignant cancer. It just makes him unlikable to some women. And I think there's a lot of women that, would fit in the same boat that are unlikable by men, but that doesn't make them castaways. That doesn't make them rude and, somebody that we should highlight and talk badly about, right? It's just, he's not for you. So I just think we just need to be clear. And a lot of the women, I want to give y'all credit. Y'all definitely were loud and proud about speaking out against Morgan and some of the things that were happening, and the same for Jeffrey. But there were some that weren't. So this is for those that weren't, right? This message, this conversation, this dialogue is for the ones that weren't. And there were a good enough population where I think it's noteworthy to talk about.
Sean said you're going to receive the smoke. Whether you like it or not, you're going to receive it. Okay? You're going to receive it. No, good conversation, though. Good conversation. And I think that's a good kind of summarization to the end of the season for both the men and the women, I think alike. And I think this season, yeah, again, we get to see some interesting behaviors from both men and women as well. And I think what's key conversation around this is, especially when next season hits around or other shows hit around as well, is again refocusing all of us as well as panelists and anybody else in the chat about what's our focus. It's about helping people to be able to see healthier, better ways to communicate and to behave, and how to operate through relationships. So, I'm sure there'll be some more hairier moments in maybe next season or some other shows that we review. And I'm sure there won't be an end to the disagreements that we have between men and women. It's normal, because we see things in different ways, and we appreciate the women too for seeing things different ways. We wouldn't want it any other way. You know what I mean? All right. So we wouldn't want it any other way because it helps us have a whole holistic way of looking at life. So, yeah, it's appreciated this season as well. So, we get at that. Any last thoughts, guys? I don't know if there's anything else we missed on the reunion that you wanted to address. I don't remember anything else. Can't go back. Y'all know already. But is there anything that we missed on this that you wanted to discuss? If there isn't,
Did we talk about Natasha's recount? Did you guys talk about that before I came on?
Natasha's recount
of what transpired between her and Tony?
Yeah, we didn't get into it. JR did, but we didn't.
Ja kind of
Oh,
touched
he
it.
summarized in one of his rants. Okay.
His dissertation.
He dragged her like he dragged Jeffrey.
Oh my goodness. Well, I don't know that she
Yeah.
deserved to be dragged, but I just thought there was some inconsistencies there.
Okay. Well, we're gonna talk about that behind the scenes, but
Talk about it, Sean. Are we done? I was gonna say, tell Sean talk about it.
we've gone over the time, so I said 2.5 hours. I promise you guys 2.5 hours, and I've done 10 minutes extra.
Kojo got
I'm
that
being
blanket
bad.
wrapped strong. He is ready to.
No, not even. But I'm trying to be better at the timings with you guys. You know what I mean? I do love the long panels, but I'm trying to be better. I've done 2.5 hours, and I know I should be sticking to the time. So, Deacon, if you could give us the benediction, we can chat behind the scenes, so it's not a problem.
You got it. So we had a fantastic exchange of ideas, and I think, again, as we say, when we do have a difference of opinion on this channel, this is an example of how you work out a difference of opinion, the same way you would in a relationship, right? We're not always going to see things from the same lens and the same perspective, but it's the willingness to hear, the willingness to listen, the willingness to be open to someone else's ideas. Doesn't mean you're going to change the person's opinion, but you will at the very least allow someone to hear your difference of opinion. So I think in relationships, that is a great way to be ready to love, right? It's to be ready to enter into discourse, to enter into an exchange of ideas, because it's only through the exchange of ideas that we get better, right? Because truly, without men and without women together working in unison, we will cease to thrive, right? And there's beauty in the way a woman's mind works, right? And in the way women think in their perspective. So it deserves a voice, it deserves a platform, it deserves to be heard. And I think and the same for men. So we do need to listen to each other. I think that is such an important act. And, Faye, I appreciate you for demonstrating that and your willingness to engage in discourse with me and anyone else tonight. I think when we think about what happened on Ready to Love, none of these people were ready to do nothing but play around in our faces, right? So they did just that. And I think part one of the reunion was more of an entertaining piece than part two. But when we look at the summary, hey, listen, there is a contentious debate on whether MA and Mercedes are still doing a little sneaky link. So let us wait and let the verdict yield what it shall, and we shall see, because perhaps they are and perhaps they aren't. But I think what they did demonstrate to us is that although two people together may not have been ready to love, they were in a good position to work together and to also agree to not be together, but also work and show respect, right? Every relationship that ends does not have to end in toxicity. It doesn't have to end with a trauma story. It could end, right, peaceably. So I think for those of us that are thinking about a graceful way to exit a relationship, perhaps they are an example of doing that. And sometimes, does that mean things linger? They may, right? And there's nothing wrong with a little lingering every now and then. We think about Cynthia and Anthony. Look, I didn't get to talk about it, but I think this is what happens when we go into a situation when we really don't want somebody. And Kojo and I tell you all the way, don't go into something when you don't want the person. Don't let them be your second choice, and maybe you can't have your first choice. Don't go for the first choice because it's not right, but don't settle for a second choice and think everything's going to come together beautifully. It won't. And lastly, I'll end with that. Another person can't make you do nothing, right? So a woman can't make me be more masculine, and a man can't make you be more feminine. You are who you are. You can work on yourself and make a choice to make and do different choices, but that person can't make you more of a gender role than you already are. You can make the choice to do it because you want to do it for yourself. All right. So please don't fool yourself into thinking that it may last. But it won't last long, right? So you'll be there for a short time, not a long time. And when we think about ready to love, we want to be ready for love for a long time. Okay. We talked about Morgan and Tony and Natasha and all the entanglements. You can't entangle to whom does not want to be entangled. So if you do not want to be entangled, don't be in an entanglement. It's very simple, right? But if you wish to be entangled for whatever reason, because it looks good, because it feels good, then you will do it. So just be cautious. Don't enter into an entanglement with blinders on, right? Be careful of your choices. Know what you're doing and own your choices. If you're in an entanglement, then own it and get out of it if you don't want to be in it. But if you're going to be in it, own it. Back to you, Coach.
Thank you very much, Sean. Appreciate that very much. Audience, thank you. We haven't gone just yet. I did promise you guys would have, the $5 cash out questionnaire. You know, we like to do that at the end. Quiz, I say questionnaire, not quiz, not questionnaire. But it's the end of the season, which means I think the pot's at 40. It was at $40. I think it was at the $40. The prize asset was at what Sean said he would double. So clearly. Remember, hey, when you were calling me broke, now when I'm telling you to double it, you looking at me like I'm crazy. Oh, okay. So that is in the pot. So the pot's
double. You got it. You got it, Sean.
Sean was part of people calling me broke. No, jokes, he wasn't. But no. So we got a question for you guys in the chat. So I hope you're ready at the buzzer. I hope you're ready to do it. So the question that I have here is a very simple question. To get $40, claim all the prize from the cash prize fund. The question is very simple. I just need the name of the person who said this line. I need a name of the person.
Wait. Before you go, I thought we doing something from the past or just this reunion before the big pot. Because I thought it was from a question.
I mean, if you got something from the past, that's a better question. I was going to use this thing. So if you got something from the past, you can put it in the chat for me. I don't mind. If you got something from the past, you got a question, go for it.
Let me think. Hold on.
I'm just confirming my panelists, guys. Give us a second. Thank you.
Everybody go off camera. Let's talk. No, just playing.
And while the team deliberate, the eggheads deliberate behind the scenes. So they're gonna get us a question, guys. Whilst they do, we can play some low-level elevator music for you guys. Just to set the scene before we, Okay, great. I like that. I like that one. He really is. He's about to give the offering. All right, cool. So we've got a question here for you guys to win the $40 cash prize. Hold on a minute. My eyes can't read you. Okay. All right.
Not you gotta cry. You gotta give up the cash.
My fingers are feeling a bit tight. Wait, the question. Okay. It's a two-part question. How is that a two-part question?
It's one answer for who did it and the answer for whom.
Is it the same person?
No.
No, it's not.
No.
Who gave it, and then who did they give it to?
Oh. Okay. Sorry. I wasn't.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you.
Sorry, guys.
My brain wasn't working to tell him either.
I was slow. I was like, wait, how was that? How was that?
His eyelids.
Yeah, I was like, bro, I was a bit behind. All right, guys. Okay, cool. So, question. We got the question. Okay, we got the question. Whilst behind the scenes, if someone can think of a very difficult question from this season, I need a really difficult one. for me as well. All right, whilst we're doing this. Okay, question for you guys. It's a 2-part question. Okay, so it means it's gonna be two. It's gonna be 2 answers. Okay, so first person to put both answers. Okay, put it in your one answer. Don't put it as separate. That won't count. I need it in the same. You know, you put a name and a name. Yeah. If you put a name and then try to do a second, press enter and put a name after it, I'll miss you. You understand what I'm saying to you? Clear instructions. I don't want to hear no one crying about it. All right, cool. Question. The question is as it stands. Okay. It's a question. So it's a 2-part question. Part 1. Who was the person Tony? Wait, what? Wait.
Who gave a candle that smelled like fill in the blanks, and to whom did they give it to?
Oh, do you know what? I read the first part of the question. I read that thing above this. That's why I was like, wait, what question is this? Now I get what you're saying the question is. Because I was like, blood, it's confusing.
Oh, my
I
bad.
read
'Cause I didn't put a question mark on that one.
I was like, wait, what? Oh, okay, sorry. My bad. Okay, sorry. Apologies, guys. I got the question now. Okay, so the question is, who gave the candle that smelled like coffee and to whom? So both names. Who gave the candle that smelled like coffee and who did they give it to? So I need both names. Who the person they gave it to and who who gave the candle that smelled like coffee. Okay, or who created it, if you want to say that in a sense. Right. Let's see who the first one is. I got Veronica. Oh, Monique, you were so close, but you put coffee and Anthony. You were so close. You know, I know you probably meant Cynthia, but you put coffee and Anthony. So unfortunately, it's not you. Veronica is the winner. Veronica, well done on winning the quiz. Now, Veronica, I've got a proposal for you. Okay. I'm going to call it double or quits. Okay. I'm willing to double it to 80, but there's a chance you may lose it all. If you're willing to, Veronica, say yay in the chat and I'll bring you up here and we can ask a question. You don't have to come up or anything. We'll ask you the question. And if you can get it right, we can double it. You get it wrong, you go home with nothing. It's a shame, isn't it? You know what I mean? So, you know, just a little. If you're feeling lucky, you know what I mean, Veronica, if you're feeling lucky, and you know, then and there'll be a time limit to answer the question because you could internet it, and I don't want anyone to internet it. I want to, you know what I mean, and you need to answer in a certain time limit. You know what I mean? So, Veronica, if you're willing to, we can double or quit it at this point in time. Otherwise, you can just take the $40 as it is now, and you can go home with it. You know what I'm saying? Like you got your $40, you go and buy what you're gonna buy, but you can double it and quit it. $80. Think about it. It's a nail set. I know some of the nails are expensive. It's a nail set, baby. Okay, it's pedicure toes. Okay, I'm saying to you. All right. Although I saw someone pedicure toes with $120 one time. So, you know. Veronica said, let's go. Yes, Veronica. Yes. Yes. You know, this is amazing. Love that. Veronica. Love that. We're going to send you the link. Click on the link, Veronica. Come up. You don't have to come up. You just have to come up. And we're going to ask you that difficult question. Okay? We're going to ask you a difficult question. Now, please don't put a question in the chat at the moment, guys, because if you put a question in the chat, she's going to see it in a second or two. She can't see it yet. But...
She can't see it yet. Okay, I'm ready real quick.
Think I love you. I'll put some music in the background, guys. Come on. Veronica's feeling lucky. Come on, Veronica. Double or quits, baby. There's Veronica there. She's come up now.
Hey.
Veronica. Hey, Veronica.
How are you all? I'm so excited.
Your voice is beautiful. I love it.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
No worries. Listen, Veronica, you feeling lucky?
Well, you know, you got to go double or nothing. Let's do it.
Okay. All right. Okay, cool. So, I don't actually have the answer, but my panelists will be able to confirm. So I'm going to give you, I think a maximum of 15 seconds is long enough to answer this one question, and it's double or quits, you know? All right.
Okay.
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 So if you get an answer right, you double and you're good. Is that okay?
That's good. Okay.
Check the
Beautiful.
group chat, Kojo.
Oh, okay. Cool. So definitely give me the question for you now. All right.
Go easy,
Uh,
y'all.
okay. Okay. So the question. Jay, is that the question you put in the chat? I just want to make sure there's a question you're saying. Yeah. Can I say that question?
Yeah, that's the one in the
Okay.
group chat. And if you want to make it, the second part is in our IG chat. Okay.
All right. Cool. So, I want to make it simple because I want someone to win some money. I'm not going to make it too difficult. Okay. I'm not going to make it too difficult. You got 15 seconds. Here's a question. I just need to answer who said this. Who said Jeffrey's presence and aura is a blessing?
Oh my goodness.
Said Jeffrey's presence and aura is a blessing.
I'm gonna say Andre. Oh no.
Oh baby.
Oh no. All right. Who said it?
Oh.
It was actually Blue when they were on their yoga date.
Oh, Blue didn't mean that. That's why I didn't resonate
give her
with me.
another
It was not
question. Give her
authentic.
another question. I feel
You feel bad?
So,
I know you feel bad. So you're gonna use your cash app to send it this time.
now, what I was gonna do was round it up to $100.
Don't feel that bad.
You know what? I'm willing to send a $5 cash out. Listen, look, I want to be nice. Listen, I know we lost it all, but I'm gonna give you $5 consolation. I'm gonna give that. You know,
All right, I'll take it.
Yes, I feel that's fair. I'm being nice. What? No, you lost. You can't give her 20. No, you can't give her 20. You lost, unfortunately.
At least
I shouldn't even give 5. I shouldn't even give 5, but I feel good enough to feel 5. Yeah, because the game is double the quits.
Listen, I don't hate to sound mean, but when you go up on all or nothing,
Corey says gonna send 10.
I'll double Corey's 10. I mean, I'll match Corey, and then you do 5. So we'll get you at least 25 for coming up here, Veronica, because this.
Wow.
This is crazy.
That's lovely. You guys are the best. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Veronica.
Make sure you send us a cash app, Veronica.
Please follow me on Instagram because clearly is, he's deplorable.
All right. If I could just take
I'll take a follow.
If I could just take a quick liberty since I happen to be on, just to echo you all's comments earlier about women and men, especially Black women and men, having a platform and an opportunity to really discuss deep issues and really discuss it in detail. I love what you all do. I'm a bit older than you all, but I learned so much, and I'm glad that you all are doing what you're doing. Keep it up, and just keep up the great work. That's it.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it, Veronica.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you so much.
Hopefully we'll tee you up on the panel one day. Eh?
You know what? I would love that. Yes, I definitely have an opinion. Yes.
And you don't sound sound young as a spring chicken, so don't be talking about your age.
Well, I do hydrate and moisturize, so
Oh,
not the vocals.
Right.
We need that hydrated energy up here.
That's a good left.
Veronica came in and raised the temp for y'all. Like,
oh, gracious.
Veronica, if you could just put your cash app in the chat, so we know where to send it for you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Appreciate it, babe. Thank you for coming on.
You all have a great night.
You too.
You too, Veronica.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Well, listen, look, someone hasn't won this whole 40. So, I'm still willing to dangle out this 40 out here. So if we have another question to someone, you know what I mean? We're gonna have another question for someone because I feel like someone should win this $40. It's not nice that the $40 that has been saved up by the other panelists. I mean, not other panelists, but other people in the chat who haven't taken it over the time. So we're gonna ask another question. Okay. I got another question for you guys. You know what I mean? Got another question here. So the question is, okay. Let me see my question here. Okay, so Danny said it's 45. It's not Danny. Your $5 was added to the 40. Okay, I appreciate you, baby. So you can tell I'm a money management person. I'm a budget person. I really am. Listen. Okay, so the question is very simply put: for the $40. Okay, for the $40. This question is simply put: I want to know who this person was talking about. Okay. So I want to know who the person was talking about. That's the answer I want. The answer is, who was this person talking about? Okay. So someone said on this particular reunion, quite early on in the reunion of the part 2, they said that the person knew their answer before they said yes on the final decision day. They already knew they weren't going to be with them before the final decision day. All right. So I want the answers, who that person was talking about. Who were they talking about? They mentioned it earlier on the reunion. Said, listen, you already knew your answer before. Okay, we got some answers in there. Okay, I think the fast person I've got is JV Vickers, if I'm correct. Have I got that correct, Dre? Dre's a very tricky answer, you know. Dre's a tricky answer because we already have a Dre. I can't accept that. I'm sorry, I can't. Jay Vickers, I would want to, but I realize we have a Dre on the show as well. So Jay Vickers, I'm really sorry. I can't use your answer. Raina is the first person I have. That is heart-wrenching. That is, that is heart-wrenching. You missed it by an A and N. But we have a Dre on the show. So I do apologize, Jay Vickers, for calling your name out like this in positivity and then having to bring negativity to it. Okay. Raina is the person who answered it first. It was on Dre that the person was talking about. Now, Raina, I hope I'm saying your name right. Rena, I'm not sure if I'm saying it correctly. The question is, are you willing to double or quit it? That's the question. Or are you willing to go home tonight? You know what I'm saying? You can end this life for all of us and say you're going to take this money and go home, but you could add a few extra minutes by saying you want to double or quit it. Are you feeling lucky tonight? That's the question we're asking. Are you feeling lucky tonight? Let me know. Are you feeling lucky tonight? Are you feeling lucky tonight? Guys, your screen of who you see first is not who I see first. I'm so sorry. I know some of you are saying Jessica came first. Jessica's not on my screen first. Okay. I don't see Jessica. Okay. So I appreciate the fact it looks like that. But on my screen, that's not how I look. Okay. All right. So Rena, are you looking to double or quit? She says you'll take it. Okay. I respect it. Rena says she's gonna take it. She said, I'm gonna take my $40. I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna spend my money. Okay. So Rena, make sure you send me your Cash App and we'll send you $40. You can go home and spend it however you like. Okay. Someone said, why do I pronounce a name like that? I don't know, because that's how it looks like. Is it not the right pronunciation? Panelists, is it the wrong way I'm pronouncing it? Is it Raina? How do you pronounce it? Rena? I don't know how to pronounce his name. You know me, I'll be killing people's names. So like I'll pronounce my own name wrong if I had a chance, But if you can send us your Cash App, send it to me on here, or if you don't feel comfortable, you can send it to me on email, littleblackbird91@gmail.com, or you can send it to my inbox or DM me as well. All right, you can send it there as well. You can send it to me. Someone said rain. Is rain. Is it okay? Apparently it's rain. Rain. Thank you. My British accent won't allow me to get it through. Rain. All right, cool. Yeah, if you can send me your Cash App, we would send you the money through as well. Natasha said we should do another question for $20. My bank manager is kind of saying that the account is looking a bit, you know what I mean? We've just scapegoat with $45 given away already. It's looking a bit tight already this season. I don't know. There's not been enough tithe and offerings have come into the barn house to release another $20 onto you guys. But you know what? Since the Lord has been good to me and I'm anticipating more goodness, I will do one more question. Okay, I will do one more question because my panelists are looking at me like I am a snack and not in a good way. Okay, so I'm gonna ask a question. One more question for you guys. Okay, one more question. Okay, here is the last question, guys. There will not be a double or quick this one, so it would be a straight $20 because I can't afford the rest of the 20. I need to buy myself a coffee and cake later. All right, so the last question is okay. The last question is. And it's the fastest one to the buzzer. It's gonna be a real simple one because we've been talking about it all day today. The fastest person on the buzzer. Who said that they didn't handle their partner correctly? Very simple. Who said they didn't handle their partner correctly? Talk to me. Now, Jay, you heard the question before anyone else. There ain't no way you're gonna miss it when you hear it.
I'll add the other 20.
There's even a delay for them, 10-second delay. Oh, you're killing me. Oh man.
Jay, did you get your hoodie yet?
Huh?
Did you get your hoodie yet?
No, I haven't got my hoodie yet, but
That's
he ain't
not
got
arrived
his.
yet.
He hasn't got his hat either, and I haven't sent it yet.
Yes.
So
Don't worry, yours are coming. Sean, you haven't sent me your address yet. You don't even get an excuse. You haven't sent me your address, bro. So you can't even talk.
Just
But
bring
Jay
it
has
with
to
you
get it.
in July when you come to DC.
That ain't gonna happen. That ain't gonna happen. That hoodie stick. That's suitcase space.
Okay. Then I
I'm
will
gonna
send
send it
you
to
the
you.
address.
Actually, and it's cheaper to send it to you guys in America because
Is
it's
it?
an American company. Yeah, it's an American company, so it's actually cheaper to send it to
Okay.
you than it is to me in Europe. They added extra like 10 plus the postage and packaging, which makes it like $20 extra. So I can make it cheaper for you guys, but I can't make it cheaper for Europeans. So they're pricks like that. But anyway, listen. So the answer, Logan, got it right. And Logan, send us your cash app, and I'll send you the $20 as well. Okay, all right. So appreciate you, guys. All right, and yes, Seaway is right. I'll send you guys the merch that I owe you. So send your addresses, and I'll send it to you guys. Okay, all right. Listen, audience, thank you so much. Been a pleasure. Absolute amazing season has been. I'm sure we'll find another show in the next week or two that we can take up together. Saturdays will be replaced by Put a Ring on It. So if you watch that, we'll be replacing Put a Ring on It. But we won't be this week because I'm at a wedding hosting. So next week we'll start again for Put a Ring on It on a Saturday. All right, cool. Audience. All right. Like it, share, subscribe, click on the bell button for notification of the uploads. We appreciate you. Don't forget to send me your Cash App, Logan, and also as well our early contestant winners, Veronica, and I can't remember the other person, Raina, as well. Okay. All right. Listen, we're gonna leave you now, and can't leave you without a little something. I'm changing my little video today. Sorry, that clip just kills me. I don't know why, but it absolutely rips. Yo, I was thinking it was a debate between this clip and the one. I wasn't sure if I was allowed to play it. That one, have you not seen the one with?
Let's review the other one backstage because this one ain't it.
This one
ain't it. This ain't it, bro. I'm sorry. I can't support you. I don't know what the hell that is. It looks like Precious in the corner crying, laughing. I don't get the context, so I think we need to put a poll up.
Yo, it was between this clip and the other one. I was like, I don't know if I could play the other one. I don't know if you've ever seen the clip where I know it sounds really bad, but the father and the son, where unfortunately the school shooting, and the dad starts not laughing, but it looks like he's laughing. It's been killing me for time. Anyway, we'll just cross that after. And then listen, guys, let me just, before I say that I should say, let me get off it because I feel myself going left. I don't want to get cancelled. I appreciate, much love and appreciation. Let me play the original clip. I've been told to focus and play the original clip. Shout out to Jamie Foxx.
Here with something. You know what I mean? I'm from around the way. I'm leaving with something.
I appreciate you guys. Stay locked, stay loaded. And for Morgan, hey. One wrong one.
Not on my watch. Not on my watch.
Yeah, that one clip is for JR too. The way JR was taking them down, he was smacking everybody earlier.
The wrong clip, guys. I'm so sorry. The wrong clip, guys. I appreciate y'all.
Guys, we fall down, but we get back up again. And
We
back
do.
up again.
I appreciate you lot. Blessings.